Welcome to the AM News now. And a devastating fire has swept through a cluster of mechanic shops at Sofo Line in the Kwadaso municipality of the Ashanti region on Sunday night, causing extensive damage to property and livelihood. The blaze, which broke out around 7 p.m. last night, razed more than 100 vehicles, numerous engines and large quantities of upholstery materials, leaving shop owners and workers counting heavy losses. The cause of the fire officially remains unknown, but some artisans are attributing it to someone who was burning refuse in the area. We'll bring you more of that in our subsequent bulletins. But family of a 3-year-old girl are appealing to the general public for immediate assistance in locating their daughter, who was picked up from Konongo Roman Catholic Basic School A by an unknown woman around 3 p.m. on Thursday, January 22, 2026. She was last seen wearing a green and white school uniform. The family says although the Konongo police have been formally notified, they have not yet seen significant progress or urgency in their search efforts. They are pleading with the community and the nation at large to help find her. They say every minute counts and are relying on the eyes and ears of the public. Now, if you have seen her or have any information, please contact 0243 87 5206, 0243 87 5206, or 0541 81 70 57, 0541 81 70 57. Kindly help us locate this beautiful girl of, the parent. Away from that, President John Mahama says Ghana's economic comeback shocked the International Monetary Fund, admitting he expected results only after 2 years, not within a single year. He says the stability of the city and the broader improvement in the economy within just 12 months is unprecedented, to the extent that the IMF is now citing Ghana as a possible example for other African countries. The president was speaking as a special guest at the 23rd anniversary and Thanksgiving service of the First Sky Group at the Accra International Conference Center in Accra. We have more in the following report.
Ghana's economic recovery is attracting international attention, with the International Monetary Fund citing the country as a positive example for other African economies. The president says his government will continue to support local companies as part of efforts to boost the nation's gross national product, create jobs, and strengthen the domestic economy. Speaking at the event, President John Mahama said even his administration had been surprised by the pace of the economic rebound. He explained that while government worked to stabilize the economy, the expectation had been that the turnaround would take at least 2 years rather than 1.
In my own imagination, I thought that we'll need about 2 years to begin to see a turnaround. That's what I thought. But Ebenezer, this is how far God has brought us. We're all surprised and shocked at the quick turnaround. Anytime I meet the IMF officials and the World Bank officials, they themselves cannot believe, what has happened in Ghana. So Ghana has now become the poster boy, of the IMF and the World Bank.
The president said his administration would continue to support local companies, stressing that firms in the construction sector, including First Sky Construction, remain critical to growing the economy and expanding Ghana's gross national product.
So always when we talk about economy, we talk about GDP. Our GDP has grown, our GDP has grown. No, we must grow our GMP. And the only way we can grow our GMP is to support indigenous companies like First Sky.
Chief Executive Officer of the First Sky Group, Apostle Eric Sede Kotoche, praised the government for granting one of its subsidiaries, First Sky Construction, a role in the Big Push initiative.
We are grateful that under this vision, the First Sky Construction has been entrusted as a partner based on the recognition of capacity and competence. And we say thank you, His Excellency.
He further noted that sustained government support for local enterprises has contributed significantly to the growth of the First Sky Group, which now employs more than 6,000 people across the country.
We have grown this far because Ghana chose to believe in the Ghanaian capacity. We have endured because this nation created a space for local enterprise to compete.
This service reflected on First Sky's 23-year journey, tracing its growth from a small local business into a diversified Ghanaian conglomerate with interest in construction, energy, financial services and logistics, and reaffirms the group's commitment to job creation and national development. President John Mahama, together with senior government officials and clergy, joined hundreds of staff of the First Sky Group and members of the public at the Accra International Conference Center for the company's 23rd anniversary.
Away from that, the Wa Municipal Chief Executive Alhaji Nura Isi Danwana has issued a strong warning to individuals involved in the illegal drug trade in the Upper West region, urging them to desist or face arrest and prosecution. He says the abuse of opioids and other illicit drugs is destroying the future of many young people in the region and will not be tolerated. The Wa Mayor revealed that several suspected drug peddlers have already been arrested and are currently facing trial in court. He made these remarks at the 6th Jonjo Walk held in Wa. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has details of the story.
Over 10,000 people drawn from various youth camps in the region took part in the annual walk codenamed Walk with Jonjo. The Upper West region, for some time now, has hawked headlines for the wrong reasons due to the increasing cases of the abuse of opioids such as tramadol and other illicit drugs. The aim of the walk is to put a lid on the abuse of opioids and other illicit drugs in the region. The walk started at the camp of Jonjo, located at Jengweri, a suburb of Wa, before they spilled into all principal streets in the Wa municipality. For years, it is arguably the biggest outdoor event in the region and lasted for almost 3 hours. Busran Dombo is the organizing secretary of Jonjo Palace and he threw further light on the walk.
Another Jonjo walk, but this time we are out here to solve a problem, which is drug addiction and substance abuse. We all know that these days it has become a problem in our region and Ghana at large, and we need to fight it. And it's a problem that resonates or resolves within the youth. So we have to fight it. And how do? We first of all have to create awareness, and that is what we are out here to do. After creating the awareness, we'll do what is needful. We consider drug addiction and substance abuse as a national security threat.
This is the 6th year the event is being held in the region, and the numbers over the years kept on ballooning.
Undoubtedly, it is the largest crowd ever in the Upper West region. It is something we started 6 years ago, and we've been doing things to support the community. And when you are doing something that is good, people don't sit waiting for you to come call them. It has become a carnival that we do every year, and the team that we attach every year is one that solves the problem of the people. So anytime we come out to solve problem with a team that resonates with the people, they leave whatever they have behind and then join us to help solve the problems of this region.
The event has the support of the Wa Municipal Assembly, and as a result, its mayor, Alhaji Isano Danwana, was present.
And we are sending a warning to the peddlers, especially those who sell the drugs. We are telling them that we are coming after them. Some of them have been arrested, some are under prosecution. I'm sure the security services are still working tirelessly to ensure that we get a lot of them and we get most of them to be tried.
Alhaji Nura Danwana also spoke about the opening of rehabilitation centers for victims.
We will be setting up rehabilitation centers whereby those who are willing to comply or those who are willing to leave this particular drug abuse will attend to their call to ensure that we provide them with this platform to be able to reform and then be integrated into society.
Upper West Regional Commander of the Ghana Prison Service, Alhaji Osman Tasimbedi Esquire, enumerated the disadvantages of the intake of banned substances.
If our youth get into drugs, their future is completely mad. So there's the need to sensitize them, educate them that drug taking is not the best, and that the way is that you should get education. As they will say, grab education or get yourself an employable skill so that you can push Upper West forward, push Ghana forward. forward and push Africa forward.
You can see that there are several thousands of participants for this particular event, particularly the youth. They are saying that they want to fight the menace of drug abuse in the Upper West region. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, following the successful hosting of the 2024 and 2025 National Science and Math Quiz in Cape Coast, Primetime Limited, producers of the competition, have been recognized for projecting the city onto the national spotlight. The recognition was conferred at the Seth Osaberima Royal Award ceremony held in Cape Coast. Speaking after receiving the honor, the Managing Director of Primetime Limited, Nana Ekwia Mensah Bonsu, described the recognition as a major boost and encouragement to raise the bar in future editions of the competition.
I'm humbled, and we also thank God that at least Cape Coast has really recognized what we do, because we've been around for some time, and it's also inspired me to do more than we have done.
For 6 years, the Osaberima Royal Awards, a scheme initiated by the Oguamanhen Osaberima Dr. Kwesiata II, has recognized excellence across various fields, including media and education, acknowledging the contributions of distinguished individuals to the development of Cape Coast and the Ogua traditional area. According to the Omanhen, the initiative is designed for the development and growth of Cape Coast. Although I am headlining this award scheme, it is not for me but for the benefit of Cape Coast, its development and growth. In times past, Gold Coast meant Cape Coast. Today, the name Cape Coast is almost lost, and it is up to us to restore its glory. We have started, so let's collaborate to lift Cape Coast up, and we pray for God's strength to do so.
Until time when there shall be no more.
Primetime Limited was recognized for hosting the National Science and Math Quiz in Cape Coast, and the Managing Director, Nana Ekwia Mensah Bonsu, highlights the impact of the recognition.
Oh, of course, I was really excited. I mean, this is my first time here at this awards. I know this is the 6th one that we've had, and to have your work recognized and appreciated, it's a blessing, and it's a great feeling to know that people appreciate what we do. I take every opportunity I get to thank my team and my sponsors, because it's when all these groups come together that we are able to have the quiz and have a successful one. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Osaberima Dr. Kwesiata II and the Ogua Traditional Council for this honor done me and Primetime Limited. Kofi Sumana Enterprise, we are really appreciative. They gave prizes to the students and to the schools to encourage them to do well, to appreciate their efforts and to encourage them.
The Western Regional Director of Education, Emmanuel Isuman, was also awarded for his efforts during the quiz competition.
It's a great honor done. And I've been saying that hard work pays. Whatever you are doing, just concentrate that you are doing for the interests of the learner, not yourself. And definitely, man will recognize whatever you are doing. And today, I never knew. I was here 2023 and reposted 2025. Lo and behold, I was called to come and receive a Royal Award. It's an honor.
Elizabeth Obese, the founder of the Daniel Linto Obese Foundation, also shared her thoughts after the foundation was recognized for its social impacts in Cape Coast.
It is very good. Recognizing the efforts of people encourages others to also do same. And it encourages you, the awardee, to also work hard to improve whatever you are doing.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lisson Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
Well, let's do business updates now. And Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, has maintained that effective regulation and enforcement in the banking and financial sectors cannot be achieved by regulators alone. He has therefore argued that there is a need for strong collaboration with all players across the ecosystem to achieve this vision. The governor made this known at the launch of the National Virtual Assets Literacy Initiative, codenamed Navali.
And innovation in the virtual asset space continues to evolve. Education and awareness must remain central to our regulatory approach. And Navali represents a proactive and collaborative effort to ensure that innovation progresses responsibly with due regard to consumer protection, market integrity, and financial stability.
Now, the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management urged business owners to invest in developing their workers' skills to remain relevant in an AI-driven economy. This call comes amid concerns that artificial intelligence could lead to rising unemployment in Ghana. Speaking to Joy Business, former president of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Dr. Edward Kwapong, emphasized that businesses must prioritize upskilling and reskilling their employees to leverage AI opportunities and mitigate job displacement.
Obviously, digital skills are very important. Converting data, raw data into processed data for decision making. Yes, we should start training people to learn the import of AI. AI essentially mimics the human brain in operating and giving solutions, and therefore you should try to encourage people to move into the digital space, understand analytics, and help reduce or perhaps make production more efficient and precise. We should first and foremost seek to know the areas that AI can easily be deployed. And once we have identified those areas, then we prepare the minds of those holding positions now who will know the possible impact of AI on their jobs.
And that's how we wrap up the business update and also the AM news. Up next is AM Sports. Do stay on. All right, welcome back to the AM show. Time for us to get into what the papers are reporting and also to do with matters arising. But first, MFA Kosuadeti is standing by the smart wall with what is being reported this morning. Hi.
Yes, Kujo. Yes, quickly. I do this very sharply so that you can get into the matters arising.
It's like today you just want to bounce off the screen. Why?
Yeah. Because there's a lot to be done. There's so much you have to do today, Kujo. There's so much you have to cover. So I need to make sure that you have enough time to cover all of it.
Hair looks beautiful.
Thank you so much. It's from Hairs a la Mode.
Hairs a la Mode.
Yes.
Where can I locate Hairs a la Mode?
Nana Chrome. Well, no, Nana Chrome is a bit. It's Legon Hills. Anyway, let me just bring you what's happening in front of the newspapers. No, not today. Let's start with the Daily Gist. And of course, lenses on the NPP presidential race. It says that Bawumia tipped to win. I guess it will be the Global Info Analytics, Kojo, because they have released the quite recent polls and say that they're tipping Bawumia to win. And as well, the same paper is reporting how Kennedy goes dirty after NPP peace deal. I'm not sure about the dirt, but I recall that there were some body languages when we crossed over. And his concern is that he wants Clause 2 in that peace pact that they are signing removed. Now, what's Clause 2? It says that every candidate will be bounded or binded by the results. And he says that it's not the best that he wants. He wants it amended and altered. That is by miracles anyway. I'm not sure if these were his words exactly, but he wasn't too happy with that one because he says they haven't also introduced what they will do about election irregularities, which he thinks is a major concern.
I heard the chairman of the committee say that the EC had already assured all of them that any polling station that records irregularities, they would annul the results.
And take it again.
And well, he didn't add it, but he says the EC says they will annul those kind of results. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so in some electoral area coordinators as well support Baumia. This one will excite you, Kojo. Government to reactivate Media Development Fund that was initiated some time ago. Yeah. It's gone quite dormant, but they are reactivating it to at least support media houses.
It's good. I hope in there we'll talk about skills development.
Okay.
Because in-service training is vital.
Yeah.
Media persons would have to be given training to sharpen their skills. We are in an evolving world.
Spot on, Kojo. Spot on. So yesterday we brought the live telecast of the 23rd anniversary of First Sky Group. And even before that, they drew our attention to the fact that they are building a 50 megawatt solar power in Yendi. And that's a good one. Congratulations to First Sky Group. Daily Graphic this morning will fight for welfare, dignity of Ghanaians abroad. The foreign minister has been speaking. The details of that story is on page 13 of the Daily Graphic. And DVLA introduces reforms such as your lenses, your roadworthiness would expire on your birthday.
Why must it expire on my birthday?
But there must be a date it will expire on, isn't it?
You don't choose my birthday.
Why not? Because that will give you an apt reminder.
No, but the birthday is when I should be happy. You
so
don't,
if it says...
you don't have to remind me about my inspiration. Because that day, I need to spend with family and friends.
Okay. But it reminds you, so at least the day after you can go and you can save some money to go.
But he says it expires on that day.
Well, it also says that they have registered about 10,000 earth-moving equipment. They've been adding that to some of the things that they have done. Story is on page 13 of the Daily Graphic. And pay 1 billion Ghana cedis to retired soldiers. It's gratuity arrears. And the CI 129 President's Director called that amendment that allows military personnel to at least still stay a little longer before they retire. And the idea is to have the experienced ones as well stay in the service for a while. That is what he's been talking about.
What happened on that day?
Sorry.
Kofi Kinata performed.
He did, and he loves Kofi Kinata.
Yeah. But who doesn't love him?
Yeah.
Okay, I've not introduced lawyer. If I had, I would have asked.
You asked him. When you get the chance, please do. The Ghanaian publisher, Baumia, pledges grassroots inclusion and leads with 57 in latest polls. Story is on page 3 of the Ghanaian publisher. However, NPP needs kind-hearted Kenny Japan. Natoshi as well has been speaking. Story is on page 2 of the Ghanaian publisher. And media critical to economic research. BOG, the governor has been speaking. And as well, the Ghanaian publisher is advertising number 3 for the former vice president, Dr. Mahamudu Baumia. Okay, we'll take you to the Daily Guide.
That's a huge story.
Which one of them?
Ghana Health Service driver busted. Oh, the GHS is the different one.
Which one? No.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Busted with narcotics.
Happened in the Volta region. He's still in custody, by the way, and they are investigating the matter. Yeah.
Wow.
It's on page 6. Details of that is on page 6 of the Daily Guide, Kojo. And they're just reminding you, all candidates who want to be the NPP's flag bearer, pictures of them in front of the Daily Guide, and polls as well tip Baumia to win NPP race. And also, if you've been following the SkyTrain matter, it's also moved forward quite procedurally. If you're interested, it's on page 3 of the Daily Guide this morning. And today you helped me. You taught me how to say what?
I hear people mention Jacobu.
So what is it called?
Jacobu.
Yeah. Right. That's the community that Galamseyers and police clash and one dead. We brought you that story in the intro. It will be on the table today. Why civilians think that they have to attack police officers is in there. Kojo will do justice with that. We'll take you to myjoyonline.com.
Did you do BNFT?
You have it on your table. Okay. So the Ghana cedi's best performing currency in Africa for 2025, IMF.
It should spare us.
Really? Why not? Why would you want them to? This is good news.
It is. But hold on, we know. Don't tell us. Because see,
until you exit, they have a right to be telling you what they want.
Anytime they come here to do, Ghana's economy is the best performing economy. Do you remember what happened to us after they came to say that our economy was more fast?
What happened?
See where we went to.
Because they said it.
They should keep quiet. You want to hide?
Well, don't mind, Kojo. Please take a read. It's on myjoyonline.com, and I'm sure, Kojo, you're going to be touching on this one. Fire sweeps through mechanic shops at Suffolk Line and destroys over 100 vehicles. You and your guest will talk about it, why this constant fire outbreaks. Will revisit it as well. A lot more stories on myjoyonline.com. You can just go there, surf, and then take a read, Kojo.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
So that's MFA Kosiadeti there. Let's come in studio now and introduce to you our guests who've joined us this morning. Lom Nuku Alija is lawyer, lecturer at GIMPA and an energy consultant. The name is so sweet, huh? Hi, Alija. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's good.
Yes, I'm fine. How about you?
I'm well. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And then our mother, Auntie Victoria Bride, lawyer and entrepreneur. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, same here.
And
same here.
I promise you, you will come, yeah?
I hear you.
All right, let's get into the issues, but start with what happened in Suffolk Line, because we woke up to the story that the fire, which started at 7 p.m. yesterday night, raised several hundreds of vehicles and also destroyed several properties in the process. Why do we keep recording these things? Is it that we are not aware of our environment? Because we are told this is possibly as a result of someone who was trying to burn some rubbish. Let me start with you, Alija, on this one.
Well, to be honest, anytime I hear stories about fires, I just feel a bit frustrated. Why frustrated? Because these are things that should not happen.
Okay.
We keep seeing them happening in the markets, whether it's Kantamanto Circle, as you said, in this case, Suffolk Line and so on. But it's a no-brainer. It's not something that should keep reoccurring because it's exactly the same story. Now, for example, in other places, what do? How different is the infrastructure, or how different is the systems that they put in place in these kinds of congested places? A lot of it has to do with what you do in advance.
But do they have such places in other jurisdictions?
Absolutely.
They do?
Of course, because...
they have garages like we do have here?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes, because we are not only talking about the developed world, even in the developing world, but any place that is a place for commercial activity and business, even as Ghanaian law requires, there must be some key safety features in place. And these are not even expensive things to put in place. Having a fire extinguisher, for example, as we all should, even in our vehicles, and I'm sure if the police or DVLA do some spot checks, some of us will be found wanting and so on. But it's basic. If you're in a commercial location, a place where you service the public, there are things that you should put in place. Even access to water. I'm sure I saw the story earlier this morning about challenges with places with and so on. So it shows that we are in this situation because there are some institutional fractures, there are gaps in the way we organize ourselves and so on. And I'm sure in certain respects, we might even tie it to lack of resources and so on. But I think that it shouldn't be, because it keeps happening so many times that when it happens, it becomes as if we are not even consciously putting in place any measures to deal with them. Tomorrow, if we come back and sit down and have another conversation about another fire, I will not be surprised. It means that we are not putting in place the right structures.
So I think last week or so there were fires in Greater Accra.
Yes, there was fire in Greater Accra. I believe there was also one in that was Circle. There was a Circle fires recently as well. And I think even recently, I also heard about another one in the markets in the Bono region and so on. So again, as I said, a lot is happening in this front. Now, who are the players in the space? One of them, for example, is the Ghana Fire Service. Are we seeing significant public education from the fire service about how to deal with fires and its related matters? I'll say no. But I don't know the numbers and what kind of budgetary allocation perhaps they have been given to support public education. Because if all the funding that goes to an institution like that is towards what happens when there's a fire, by that time it means the occurrence has already happened. And now we are fighting to basically see if we can salvage property and lives and so on. But the bigger investment should go into prevention, which is what can be done to prevent things like this from happening. Because you just mentioned that For example, this was triggered by somebody.
Yeah, we're
trying to. Yes, we are told. Now, everybody, one way or the other, has maybe tried to burn something, even at home. Maybe you have some rubbish that you want to keep, or maybe some confidential documents you don't want to put in the trash and so on. But the thing is that, have we had enough education, public engagements to show that if you want to do this kind of burning, pay attention to these factors. If you are doing it at this kind of place, pay attention to that factor and so on. And so for me, it begs the question how we keep coming back to this same topic, and it seems as if nothing is changing. And I would entreat an institution like the Ghana Fire Service to do more in terms of public education. Then beyond that, and beyond this particular location, as I said, when it comes to the fires and the recurring nature of these fires in those kinds of places, there needs to be proper structures put in place, including even just installation of water sprinklers like we have in other places. But the fires happen, the markets burn down. The next day we see, shop owners quickly build up, and then next month we hear another fire again. It doesn't make sense. We can't continue like this. And for me,
let's try and bring in Doc, but let's take you to Kumasi to get more on this particular development by bringing in Adrimpahene Kofi Mensah. He is a journalist with our sister station in Shore FM in Kumasi. Adrimpahene, thank you for joining us. What do we still have Adrimpahene on the line? Okay. When we do get him, we'll bring him back so we can have a chat on what happened at Sofo Line in the Kwadaso municipality of the Ashanti region. But lawyer, for you, I mean, when I heard it, I was thinking about insurance. Are these vehicles, for example, that have been burned down, insured? How do the people who have been affected get their lives back? But what is the fundamental thing that is lacking? Lawyer Mr. Alija has really said a lot, but to you, what is lacking that always we have to be reporting some of these things?
We have to report some of these fires, and it's very heartbreaking when you keep seeing the same thing and nothing changes, essentially. So for me, they've become systemic failures. Somewhere, somehow, something has broken down along the line. So I see them as systemic failures. Poor electrical wiring, we've heard so much about that. Congestion in these markets. I'm not even sure there are fire hydrants there in the markets.
Some people even build on the fire hydrants.
Yes, yes. And it's just weak enforcement of whoever it is that enforces any law and order in these markets. So it's doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. So, of course, we don't get the different results. And people, human error as well. People are doing their own things. I remember the last time we discussed fire issues, we were told people are actually cooking. They've done all these illegal connections and cooking food and all sorts of with their gas cylinders and all sorts of things. So I think all these things cumulatively contribute to these fires. I mean, the whole place is when you go to these markets, they are literally congested. Sometimes you only have this kind of width to walk through, the very congested ones. So it's something has to be done. The fire service needs to do more education, and the authorities need to go there and enforce these things, because if you don't, we'll keep having the same things. And if it's unfortunate, I mean, look at the Circle fire next to the Guelph filling station. Look at the destruction because you had the additional compounding element of having a filling station next door. So it's something that has to be addressed once and for all. We can't keep going on like this and then sit here and go, ow, ow. As you said, cars. Are they even insured? And if they are not insured, then, what are these people going to do? Human lives, people die in these fires all the time. And so I say enough is enough. We have to tackle it as a problem and stop saying, ow, ow, whenever they happen.
But what must happen for this cycle to change? You know, it happens, we'll come here, we'll say it mustn't happen again. Then it keeps happening. So what must really happen for this cycle to break?
I think the mayors or MCs, DCs, the fire service, the government, the police, I think they have to form some kind of task force or something and actually sit down and come up with a comprehensive solution to these fire issues, because we talk about it and, you know, but I've never heard of a concerted effort from all the stakeholders coming together, including some of the market queens and whatnot, to actually come together to tackle it once and for all as a serious problem, you know, because we treat them as isolated incidents when they happen. And as you say, we sit here, we talk and talk and talk about the same old things. But I think the time has come for us to tackle this as a problem, a national problem, because human lives, Ghanaian lives are precious, they matter, and people keep dying, and people's, I mean, livelihoods, everything. In some cases, it is literally everything they have is in that store, you know, and that's heartbreaking. And so we really can't keep seeing these things and just lamenting about them and carrying on the next day. By, you know, within a month, everybody would be going about their business. The structures would have been replaced, and then the cycle repeats itself. So we need a concerted effort, I think.
Must we take it away from, say, the national focus and localize them, such that we make it a priority to the local assemblies to say, make sure these fires do not break out. For example, markets are decongested, structures are in place such that even if there's a fire, the fire service could have, you know, an easy way to go through. Must we make it a local problem and not a national problem? Because
that's why I said the MCs and the mayors. So I think the local element is very important. But from the other side, you also need the regulatory element, which is where the police and people like that come in. But yes, I mean, for me, definitely, you need to have the local element there.
Yeah,
absolutely. I totally agree with Vicky. It is both a local and a national focus. You can't separate the two. The reason is because, for example, the fire service is a national institution. So their remit covers the entire country. Set up by statutes, they have the mandate to focus on fires. And that's why they have their regional and district offices and so on. Of course, when you take the municipalities, the metros and so on, they have, of course, the mayors, the district chief executives, municipal chief executives. They can focus on their local areas. And they have mandate for things like markets, who they'll give authorization to put up or put kiosks and so on, which means that they control how the community should be organized. And that will impact access to locations, for example, for fire service to go in and, you know, kill some fire and so on, which means that there needs to be coordination between the local and the national. Of course, the National Fire Service also has district offices, or they will have several offices within some districts, some constituencies and so on, which means that there should be local coordination, even though it is a national institution. So it is not like that particular district needs to wait for instructions from Accra, because they have some fire service stations within their locality and they have to coordinate with them in terms of their planning. You know, even at the regional level, the regional security councils, they also have coordination as far as all security and related matters are concerned, including fire, which means that every region must have a plan, every district must have a plan, every small community must have a plan built on some coordination between the national and the local. So it is a collaborative effort.
Maybe my question should be, must we make it a KPI to measure these MMDCs on?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The whole year we didn't record maybe fire because of this and this that you did.
Absolutely. Because you recall that, let's say even in recent years, several of the big fires we've had, they've been reports by the fire service, where they've actually come out with what triggered the fire, what caused it, what should have been done, recommendations and all of that. We can't keep having reports and recommendations. Those recommendations need to be executed, put into action. And so we are, for example, going to measure it at a district level, it means that those districts should have incorporated those recommendations from various reports on how to structure their markets, ensure their exits, their entry, their exits, ensure that there's a fire tender built into the design where, for example, when the National Fire Service bring their vehicles, they're able to still access the hydrants, things like that. It means that how you even design a market, how you design your community, how you do your planning, the spatial planning of your communities, where to locate what, all of that has to be thought through, which is why I agree with Vicky that it is a multi-sectoral thing as well. Not only national, local, it is also multi-sectoral. So you must engage various stakeholders because their input will ensure that we have a blueprint. And this blueprint, once developed, can be used by every municipality, every district. You simply need to basically adopt it for your area. So you know that if I'm setting up a market, there should be these elements in there. There should be hydrants positioned in a certain way. Looking at the size of the market, the number of hydrants and so on. There should be fire extinguishers put there. If you have structures of a certain kind, maybe there should be sprinklers and so on. Because it is the prevention that will really save lives and save money. Because your earlier question about insurance is about finances. How do we pay for all these things? Because we've had countless times when people have essentially lost their entire livelihoods because some people are even keeping their cash in their stores. So it interests you also to know that in terms from a regulatory point of view, we already have the laws for these things. It is there. It's not like we need to now put in place new laws and so on. If you're a commercial business, you're running a place commercially, you need to put in place certain minimum things. And fire service needs to give you a certificate indicating that indeed you have met those requirements. And because you have met those requirements, we can, like people who come to that establishment should feel confident that if anything happens, there will be some recourse, either even if it's loss of life or loss of property. And these are things that keep happening. So we can't keep going back to them, which is why I say we need to collaborate at the national level, at the local level, and multi-sectorally so that all the players who need to make an input into these kinds of things do so. And then we set a model that every district, every municipality should follow. And then we can measure mayors and district chief executives and municipal chief executives on it. Because if this is the standard, you have been made aware of the standard, and you have been given the KPI to ensure that you meet it. Then if you don't meet it, then obviously there should be a way to deal with people who are not able to achieve that.
Most insurance companies also take interest in this, in how, for example, Sofoline like this, how they organize themselves. Because if I'm an insurance company, all the damages will probably be on me. And as we say, prevention is better than cure. So must they also take interest in how these artisans or even traders, go about how they place their stores, whether or not they have fire extinguishers and all of that? Should insurance companies bother about those?
Yes, indeed, they should. Because at the end of the day, they will be the ones paying out, and it affects their bottom line. And, on a large scale, it even affects all of us in sense of the economy and all of that. If there are massive claims all over the place consistently, it can eventually affect everyone in that sense, at that macro level. But I think the insurance companies should take a keen interest on this. And whatever task force or whatever grouping or whatever solutions that are being put together, I think they need to be part of that because I see them as stakeholders. I was talking earlier about stakeholders in this thing, and I think they're an important stakeholder in this thing, whether it's the regulations, enforcement, or whether it's a redesigning of the markets, or whether it's accountability. I think, yes, definitely.
If I may just add something to that. So it is very important that insurers are in the conversation. And one of the reasons is because the insurers actually will give you basically standards to meet before they will insure you.
Yeah.
So the point I was coming to is that it is possible that some of these, let's say, informally organized groups may not qualify for the insurance.
Okay.
And what it takes to qualify, they may not be willing to do it. And that's where perhaps, again, some regulation or enforcement needs to come in, because if the insurance company will not insure you because you are not meeting minimum safety standards, which will include some of the things we've already talked about, they won't proceed.
Okay.
And then you need to do it before you can pay your premium and be given your policy.
Yeah.
So in this case, it means that if they will not proceed because they are not willing to meet those standards, we are putting Ghanaians at risk, because all these kinds of locations are there all over the country and people visit them every day and anything can happen there. So there needs to be enforcement to make sure that whether you are a properly organized garage like maybe Silver Star, any of those, or you are informally where it is essentially mechanics have come together to, you know, they need to all have some minimum standards. Otherwise, even insurance will not cover it.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that the insurance point is actually a wider point, because as a nation, we are all underinsured in this country. A lot of people don't have basic, like, home insurance. All the cars, because of DVLA, they are forced to do it.
Yeah.
And they will do the minimum, you know. So it's something that should actually be
I have one
talked about.
If, for example, because of they are not able to do the things to get them insured, but I have my car fully insured and it gets bent in this inferno, will I still be able to claim, or because of where it got bent?
Oh, no, you will be able to, you will be able to claim, yes. Because that will depend on your policy.
Okay.
Fire definitely be one of those that are covered.
If you do comprehensive, for example.
Yes.
It covers everything.
Yes,
definitely.
And even if you just do third-party fire and theft, the fire is in there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that's the minimum.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on and talk about the Jacobo incident, because according to the police, the Ashanti Regional Police Command is investigating an incident in which a Jacobo District Patrol team was attacked by a group of civilians at Bepo Tintin Sukum while carrying out routine duties. The incident occurred on 23rd January 2026 when officers recovered a pump action gun from a 15-year-old boy and instructed him to inform the owner to report to the police station with the proper document. While returning from patrol, the team was confronted by a crowd of approximately 100 individuals blocking the road, armed with cutlasses and firearms. The group assaulted officers and seized a service rifle. In the resulting confrontation, the assailant who had taken the weapon was shot by police and another was injured. The service rifle was successfully recovered. The police command would like to once again caution the public against attacks on our officers, since perpetrators will be pursued and arrested to face the full rigors of the law. Grateful that we have a lawyer here to help us, and I'm sure Ms. Alija is also a lecturer of the law, right? Yes. Do you have Esquire today?
Yes, both of us.
Actually. Oh, okay.
Well, Esquire is just standard. So.
Oh, that's fine. So some law lecturers aren't Esquires, but probably they have PhD.
Okay, no. So I'm a lawyer as well.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yes. So let me start. I started the other one with you. Let me start with Vicky on this one. Vicky, I mean, in the morning I was saying that if you're a civilian, you have no right to take a rifle from the police officer. Was that right?
Oh yes, I mean, absolutely. What business do you have in trying to wrestle a service gun from a police officer? Okay. It's it's an offense.
So what do you mean this incident? I mean, the guy who took the rifle was shot.
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't believe it when I was watching the video. Have we gotten to this stage in this country? People feel they can do whatever they want, especially in connection with this Galamsey issue. It's really become a bane of our society. And I am sick and tired of all these Galamseyers. It's too much. Enough is enough. They have to be stopped once and for all. Because why would 100 people try to overpower the police? I mean, the fact that there's no fear, there's no respect for the law. They are just running amok, doing whatever they want to do. And actually believing, they must have believed that they could get away with it. It's the mindset that I'm very concerned about, that kind of mindset, because it sets us back as a nation. You know, these Galamsey people, they really have gone too far, and they have to be stopped because they are destroying everything, including, you know, even the very moral fabric of our society. Why would people just come out and attack the police, just like we had with the military late last year? I mean, it's just taking a trajectory which is very, very dangerous, and it has to be stopped. And the police must continue to act decisively and deal with these people. They have to understand that this is not acceptable. What were the police doing? They were just doing their job. They were just patrolling the area, and they are entitled to do so. They are the police of Ghana. They are Ghana police. So what business do you, a civilian, have to go there and then charge on them and then try to wrestle? I mean, what is the point of taking the gun? I don't understand. What was he hoping to gain by grabbing the gun? So that what? He'll be celebrated by his peers, or so that he can keep it in the Galamsey site and now be using it against people. But that kind of mindset, I mean, what kind of naivety is that?
But we should also look at
it's total foolishness
of the young boy who was carrying we're told, the pump action gun. 15-year-old boy.
Can you imagine? A 15-year-old child who should be in school carrying a pump action gun. I mean, what business do you have carrying a gun? So this is what I'm saying, that this Galamsey is destroying everything, from our kids' futures to education, to our health, to the water, to, I mean, everything. It's like a scorched earth approach to life. They are literally destroying everything in their wake, and all because of greed. That is it. Greed. Greed in somebody's pocket. That is it. So really, I think that whatever we've been doing, we need to up our game. We need to up our game because they are doing just that. You know, they are doing just that. We cannot have a situation where civilians are overpowering the military, first of all, or the police, or even thinking that they can do so. We can't continue like this. We really can't. A 15-year-old child. 15.
So that owner must be fished out.
Absolutely.
Made to face the laws.
Yes, and we need to know how he came about, you know, holding that gun. Who is the owner of the gun? Is it licensed? And if it's an illegal arm, then that's another, you know, level altogether. No. This is not acceptable at all. It has to be stopped.
I like the point about the greed, because even the people, the chiefs, for example, who give land to these people, sometimes not even the chief himself, but a Busha penny or a family head, giving these lands to the people, is usually about what they get into your pocket now, without thinking about tomorrow. Whether the environment bends or what, they only think about today.
Yes, burn everything.
They live in today and not tomorrow, you know. So for you, just hearing that this guy was shot, and I keep asking myself, aren't these Galamseys taking advantage of the public discussion about unemployment? There are no employment, and that's why these people are taking advantage. Aren't they saying that, okay, hold on, the debate is not political, so let's take advantage of that and do what we can? Well, at the end of the day, the two main political parties will fight with each other to say, you haven't created jobs, and that's why Galamsey is booming.
Yeah. Well, it's fair to make that point, because there should be some things that are non-negotiable. In other words, it doesn't matter the number of political parties we have in Ghana. There are certain things that everybody should be on the same page about.
Yeah.
And one of them is Galamsey, really, to be honest, because the way Galamsey affects the country I mean, we have not even begun to understand it, because even a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades away from our generation, we will see that the impacts of what's happening today related to Galamsey will continue to affect Ghana. Now, this story comes at a time when, for instance, the Small Arms Commission is doing the campaign on return of weapons. Okay, the gun amnesty.
It ends at a certain point. They say if it
absolutely
ends, they have not brought it.
Yes, because the reason why it is a campaign is because it's an amnesty period. So basically, at this time, there will be no consequence for you to bring a weapon that you are returning, which is not licensed, it's illegal, illegally manufactured, and so on. But the time will come for enforcement. That's what the amnesty does. But it just highlights the fact that there are so many illicit weapons within the system, to the extent that a 15-year-old boy can be found holding a pump-action gun.
Crazy.
Pump-action guns are one of they are highly dangerous. The reason is because even if you don't know how to shoot, all you need to do is to point it in the right direction, because it spreads out. The bullet spreads out. It's not like a single shot that goes straight to a particular point.
Okay.
So, in fact, if you don't know how to handle a weapon, a pump-action gun is what you have, because you don't need to worry about aiming or whether you know how to shoot or whether you can see. All you need to do is to point in the right direction. That's it. So that's how dangerous these weapons are. Now, in this particular case, coming to your point, because we don't agree as a nation on the non-negotiables, that is why there's room for people to argue one side or the other. Today, we know that an ounce of gold is almost $5,000. What job can we create realistically in any community that has galamsey where it will be more than that? It's not possible. The fact that it's not possible doesn't mean that everybody should run amok and do whatever they want as far as galamsey is concerned. No. Because for any job that you can do that is lucrative, there's another job that is less lucrative. But people still do them because it still is able to feed you, your family, take care of basic needs, which is what really we should be talking about, not the quantum or the amount involved, which is the arguments that people make as far as galamsey is concerned. That, look, there's so much money in there, people are looking out to grab that, and it doesn't matter what kind of jobs you put in those communities. And it's true. And so that is why, again, galamsey is also not just an economic issue. Because when you reduce it to economics alone, then it means that by the numbers, galamsey should continue, because no other job can pay these young men and women the kind of money that they are hoping to get. Even though we know it's not everybody who's going to get that. Some of them will do this job for years and never make it. But it is an aspiration. They see in their communities some young people who have been able to break through. Basically, they have the houses, the cars, and so on, and then they're attracted to that. That's why they keep going into it. So it can't be reduced to economics alone. So that's on the one hand. Beyond the economics, we have to talk about the security angle as well. Enforcement. There's no day that we need to sleep on enforcing or fighting this galamsey menace. And the reason is because when you allow it, then impunity sets in, which is what I saw from the video that has been circulating about this particular community. Because when I saw the way the youth basically they came around the vehicle, you know, it shows you that there's no fear. And that is very dangerous in a country like Ghana, because one of our biggest selling points to the international community is that Ghana is a safe place. We hear and see things like this in other countries. Ghana, this shouldn't be happening. But when this begins to happen, it shows you that the impunity is setting. People are so, you know, foolhardy that essentially they can think that they can do this and get away with this. And that's what led to them surrounding the vehicle, and the police had to fire warning shots and so on. And even when the warning shots were fired, I realized that that's not what drove them. It's when they saw that one person had been shot. That's when you could see them scatter. The initial warning shots, they kind of just cowered a bit, but they were still around, you see. Which means that the security angle has to be dealt with consistently without any gaps as well. Then we now come to the environmental impacts, long-term impacts on us and our generation and generations to come. Trust me, a decade from now, we'll see diseases in this country that we've never seen before, or we'll see them in numbers that we've never had before, because we didn't deal with the issue now. The impact in terms of trace minerals in our water, our food, and so on. Like, these are long-term effects. And in a country like Ghana, trying to break through from, you know, middle-income country, possibly want to get to first world and so on. When you do get there, all your funds, your money, your resources will be used to take care of health needs that are needless because we didn't deal with galamsey today. And so it is very critical that all parties be on the same page. And there needs to be some conversation around that, because whether it's NDC, NPP, CPP, all the others, we should have some non-negotiables that, look, this is a canker that is affecting our country. It will affect us today. It will affect our children tomorrow. How can we agree on some minimum elements of this fight? And everybody should be behind that, whether you're NDC or NPP, because when you go to the market to buy food where there's trace minerals in that food, nobody asks you whether you're NPP or NDC when they are. In fact, the trader doesn't even know what is in what they are selling. You see, so it is a national issue, and it will have impacts beyond Ghana. Last time, we know, for example, that this was mentioned on Bloomberg, where they were talking about gold prices and so on, and it came up that they said, look, in Ghana, we know that they are having serious issues and challenges with galamsey and how it will impact the chain. A time will come when there are some international bodies that may even not want to buy from Ghana because of the impact on people and so on. You know, the EU, for example, they are very big on the origins of things.
But they've been sounding the alarm bells.
They've been sounding the alarm bells, exactly.
Cocoa and now they
yes.
are to other agricultural produce.
Absolutely, because they have standards that they want met in terms of even the quality of the food and you know, the various minerals that we test in them. But that aside, they also have a big focus on the logistics chain. In other words, where did they originate from? How did they get to us? They are interested in
traceability.
Yes, traceability. They want to trace to the origin and say that if this is how this mineral was obtained, we are not interested. And now that even has implications for institutions like Gold Board as well, because there's always the fear on the source of the mineral.
Could that be the reason why our gold, I mean, almost all of them were bought by India and Dubai?
Yes, they are the major purchases. India and the Emirates, yes.
Traceability.
Yeah, because perhaps they have different standards as far as traceability is concerned. Maybe the European Union will be more concerned about other things and so on. Yes, absolutely.
Like with the diamonds and the Kimberley process
and so on. Yeah, exactly. It's a way of certifying.
Yes, this health thing is really, it always bothers me a lot because like Norm was saying, I mean, look at the renal disease, look at the figures. They're shooting up, and the doctors keep telling us that this whole thing is linked, a huge part of it is linked to galamsey. And also I remember the professor who came from Kolebu talking about fetuses self-aborting.
Yes.
And even if they don't self-abort and you have the child, you're lucky if the child is healthy. And you know, I mean, the children reaching puberty at 6 and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's very, very
it's crazy.
It's crazy. And people are still doing it. As we are speaking now, people are in the mines, mining away. I mean, no, it's too much. And are we waiting for the international community to police us, to boycott us, before we say, hey, you know, now and then our economy, everything will plunge into the, And that's when we take, why can't we do things for ourselves?
I bet you in the face of all of this,
it's too much.
If you go to someone's crib today, if an ebusia penny, meeting with some people to see how can we get this galamsey to mine on our land.
And
that's why I agree with your group. Because if you look at these people,
it's pure greed. That's it.
But they are thinking about how we can enrich ourselves today. And not even use it for the betterment of the community.
No.
But just
their personal pockets.
So they drive, we buy a 4-wheel drive.
Depreciating assets.
Exactly. We are able to go to the fanciest restaurant and what have you to say we have reached.
Zero value add.
No. They don't think about the impact on the community, impact on generations yet unborn, and what have you.
They don't care.
I sit back and I'm like,
they don't care.
You guys, do you really think at all? What's the thought process that go through your thinking?
They don't care.
Before you arrive at a certain decision that, okay, if this is the portion of land, yes, I know there's gold in here. Yes, I know we can mine. But can we probably take our time and get a proper mining
license and
because
nobody's saying don't mine, but mine responsibly.
Because mining has been done in countries for centuries. So in fact, there's nothing wrong with mining. Mining has been happening for centuries.
But they discriminate.
Exactly. Exactly. Because mining must be done sustainably. Must be done. There are standards for everything. You can use the water. There are ways of treating it. You can dig out the land.
South Africa.
Exactly.
Huge
Reclaim the
mining
land.
countries.
In fact, a city like Johannesburg, when you visit Johannesburg, you will not even know that that's a mining city.
Yes.
But the entire place is like our Obuasi.
This is
basically.
Same with Australia.
It's a mining city from beginning to end. But it's how they've done it.
There's only a small part that I saw this. They call it Kuala Kuala. Even that, they are trying so hard to regulate it. And so, though you see that there are elements of people trying to mine illegally, but it's done not in the magnitude we see.
No, it's not affecting the very essence of
so we should probably
the country.
But let's look at also, you are all lawyers, so help us. Some people argue that why did the police shoot to kill? Couldn't they have maimed the guy? I mean, I don't know, but you could help us understand, why that happened. Because there are also people who argue that they should have taken into consideration you are not supposed to shoot to kill aspect of the whole policing.
When you look at the video,
they are killing.
Things were getting out of hand, to be honest, because, I mean, from what I saw, first, the policeman who was on the driver's side, he did the warning shots. And I could see clearly he pointed, he pointed up. Because
so actually, I didn't even see when the guy who died.
Yes.
I didn't actually see.
Yes, because the one filming was on this, basically capturing the driver's side. And then before we could see Jack, you could see now on the right side the guy was on the floor. So I saw that the policeman used the warning shots to get their attention. That look, the way things are going, the next step will be, he's giving them a warning shot. And that is standard procedure for the police. It is appropriate to give the warning shots, to send a signal. But of course, if the people are still, there or the level of the threat and so on. And this is, we are told, for example, that they snatched a service weapon. That is serious. And that's why I made a point earlier about impunity. When there is impunity, people will feel that they can do anything. So we are not holding brief for the police. Indeed, every shooting that occurs in the police service, they do investigate it. And we expect an investigation in this instance as well. And we expect that whatever the outcome is communicated, just as the police have been doing consistently for some time now in terms of their media releases. And I even saw the one specifically on this incident. They have to. So investigation should be done. But when I look at the video, I could see that things were getting out of hand. And if this got out of hand because of, a 15-year-old boy holding a pump-action gun, and that quickly escalated to the point where a service weapon, we are told, was being snatched out of the hands of the police, they also had to defend themselves, and they have to take appropriate action to ensure that this kind of thing must be stopped. And if we don't deal with this menace, it will become we might get to a point where some point in the future, Ghana can become basically ungovernable. Because in countries where they are fighting about resources in this way, that's what happens. We've seen in the DRC, for example, the effects of, the greed for resources and how it has fueled rebel activity, wars, and so on. For decades, there have been wars. Even when they do have some form of stability, elect a president, before you realize there are new rebel groups, and all of them are fighting because of resources and so on. We know of countries, even just in the sub-region here, where there are some parts that are essentially a law unto themselves because of resources. You see, so if we don't deal with this now, we don't address it decisively, the impacts and the long-term effects on Ghana will be quite dark.
It's organized crime, isn't it? It's organized crime.
Yeah. Dr. Korobonfe has also joined us here. Doc, your thought on this happening when civilians try to ambush the police, take rifles from them, but the police had to fight back to ensure that they are safe.
Well, could you... I watched the video, and the scene is one that should draw us all to soberly reflect on where we are getting to as a country. I've had the opportunity to work and study in this area of work, the extractive sector, and leading a civil society organization. We've had contact with community people. At the heart of the issue is ownership of minerals that are mined, particularly in this case, gold. And I have maintained that if we don't do something about the legal regime on mining in Ghana, particularly bordering on ownership, which is still a colonial relic, we will not get anywhere. The minerals and mining law that we have in Ghana today, in terms of ownership, it says that ownership of minerals is the states, the people of Ghana. And that wherever a mineral is found, the state owns it, claims it, and the president acts in and on behalf of the people, holding in trust this ownership, and can send people there to go and mine. To the extent that when I'm sitting on my land, which by our very legal regime on land ownership, either by individuals or family, because a mineral is found there, I lose right over that land, that it can be, compulsorily acquired, except that some compensation must be paid to me. And the practice has been that even this compensation, which is supposed to be promptly and adequately paid, has not been complied with over time. How did that law come about? 1897, when the Crown Land Bill, by which the whites were trying to take over our lands, was defeated. They found a way. It was all in chase of our mineral wealth. They came and said that now we will not take over the lands. But if you find a mineral in the land, before you can exploit it, or before you can go for it, you need permission from state authority. Fast forward, 1962, we had it in our post-independence arrangement. Professor L.K. Agbosu, whose PhD dissertation was in this area in 1980, has done an extensive work on this matter. Because the point is that if we don't change the arrangement where the people who own the land on which the mineral is found share in the ownership of the mineral, and by that get some direct proceeds, and not the way where we say, where we have it now, that royalties will be given to them, but they have a stake, and they will be interested in protecting it. If we don't have it, we will continue to have these problems coming back and forth. Two is the issue of the security arrangement or enforcement. We have empowered the police and resourced them with machines, guns, and other things to undertake certain constitutional duties. And we expect that when we have empowered them that way, they can feel threatened and they will do nothing about it. The impunity, and I heard my brother Long talk about it, is getting out of hand. How could anybody still be there when a warning shot has been given about 3 times? And we don't see what was happening on the other side. But if you listen to the voices, they were threatening the police. They were threatening. If you listen to the voice in the video on the other side, and I remember something that COP Kofi Kwakye once said, that yeah, police were mama ya niema say yemfa mo ho ban. Say yentimi fa mo ho, yentimi fa mo ya ho ban, better than they abo mo ho ban. We should be able to protect ourselves too. But I think that when somebody is running away from you, the question is whether you can shoot at the person.
But he had a gun. He had taken the gun, according to the report.
The person who fell, was he holding a gun?
Yeah, they said okay.
No, but the person who fell in the video.
That's what they are saying. That's why.
So he says
there needs to be an investigation, even on what transpired.
Okay, so it says in the result.
The police has issued a statement.
Yes,
they've issued a statement.
It says in the resulting confrontation, the assailant, who had taken the weapon, was shot by the police, and another was injured. The service rifle was successfully recovered.
Okay.
So
there's more to what is in the video than
yes
we see. So what I would say is that the police, professional as they are, we trust that they will do some service inquiry to establish what really happened. But this must be a warning to the civilian population. Citizens must understand that policing rests with us too. The police, what is their population? They can't do their work without us. We must see ourselves as partners and friends. So if police, they are on their duty and you feel that they are doing something wrongly, that's why they have PIPs, the professional investigative body of the police. Yes, that you can report matters to them to go into it about the conduct of their personnel and do it. And I think that the police service too must pay attention to some of these things. And I know some of their professionals who undertake very, serious issues, these 9 months issues. The police who actually did the job have not been recognized. My investigations are pointing to that. It's something that the IGP may want to pay attention to. That those who actually do the work on the field don't get the needed recognition, but those who come thereafter for the cameras and whatever eventually get the show. It is not motivating enough for those who want to do the job. Lastly, I want to say this.
On that score, once I saw the police, the IGP now, reward some CI investigators that from the address you might not even think they are police personnel. So maybe we'll get there.
Well, from what I know, it is, I'm just saying that let us give due to those who actually put themselves on the line to fight for doing things right. The last point I wanted to make is this. The careless and needless politicization of fighting wrong. It doesn't help anybody. What is happening today is pointing us all to one direction, that maybe we have been reckless and careless in our commentary on the fight against illegal mining in the past. It is not regime specific. And I have said that in my little investigations, I can tell you, Kwajo, what is happening today is partly a legacy problem from years of impunity by people holding licenses and yet perpetrating wrong with their licenses. Because the area of mining is such that if you have a concession for this area and you travel 1 minute or 1 kilometer into or outside that territory, you are engaging in illegal mining. And yet you have those big mining companies going beyond their concessions, taking the law into their hands. And the state does nothing about that. The community people sit vulnerable, helpless. In some cases, we use state security, state police to go and harass the community people. It's happened over time. And so sometimes we should also look back and ask ourselves, what has been the history of mining regulatory activities in the country in protecting the people who sit on these mines? Okay. And we must remember, as far back as 1913, A.E. Kitson established a survey report that from the north to the south, east to the west, Ghana is sitting on gold. And so if we don't regulate and say that we will have no-go areas, we may end up mining our entire space.
Houses and everywhere.
Let's be careful. Yes, The mineral wealth is there. But we need to understand that it takes restraint and discipline to be able to manage resources in abundance as we have them. It has led to the downfall of nations. The rupture of the Songhai Empire, out of which grew, some of the nations in this country, or some of the people in this country, collapsed as a result of struggles or fight over gold and mineral wealth. So let's be guided.
This one says, good morning, Kojo. The guy had snatched a service weapon and therefore was armed. He could fire back if he was wounded. No wonder the policeman shot to at best to disable him. Unfortunately, he died. This is coming from Mr. Justice watching us this morning. Quite interesting. I hope that those whose lands have not been invaded yet will take a cue from all of this. But also one thing we've not looked at. What could be the role of drug abuse in all of this?
I keep talking about drug abuse and gambling, and all those things are interconnected. I think that drug abuse has become very, very pervasive in our society, and we don't talk about it enough. And we don't seem to think that it's actually destroying our youth. This red that people keep talking about, that makes them into zombies or thinking they are zombies. It's a very, 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 very serious problem. And I think we need to look at it. For me, that whole drug situation, drug abuse situation, and gambling, they are interlinked, and they are affecting a key part of our society, the future of our society, because these are young people, mostly in a certain age bracket, and some youth even, as we saw with this 15-year-old, for example. And there are people like that also gambling their lives away. Outside in the so-called developed countries, they take gambling addiction very seriously because it's linked to all these things. And they are trying to actually reduce gambling. And of course, the companies are being very, they are protecting the interests of their shareholders and their pockets. And they are now directing everything to Africa. So as they are getting rid of them over there, we are embracing them. And every time I see an advert for any form of gambling, I just shudder and think, why are people advertising these things here? And now I saw some one-line warning somewhere. And I'm like, oh my God, at least someone is saying that there's, but that's not enough. Because, just as you have Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a support group for people with alcohol problems outside, they also have Gambling Anonymous or Gamblers Anonymous over there, and serious support groups. And there are programs about how gambling has destroyed lives, and, because drugs, gambling, very interconnected.
Okay.
One leads to the other. It doesn't necessarily have to lead there, but more often than not, you see overlaps. And so for me, looking at the percentage of youth, the youth population that we have in this country, we have to take it extremely seriously, because it's destroying us as a society. In fact, the things that are destroying us are so multiple. They're coming from all directions, and we really have to pay attention to it.
Right. Because of our time, we need to move on to other issues. Let's talk about the president saying that Ghana's economic turnaround has shocked all of us. Let me start with you, Dr. Bonfo, on this one.
Well, but quickly, I think there's something about this, what my sister Vicky said. Just a quick one. The issue of drugs, prostitution, and many other social vices, robbery, they come with this gold thing. Then there is this thing about the possibility of growing warlords. If you read the history of Charles Taylor, Fode Sanko, their emergence, it was through minerals. So let's be careful. And I did an article in 2005 warning that if we were not careful with how mining was being used as an excuse to harass people sitting on gold and mineral wealth, the likelihood that we're going to have warlords emerge like we had in Liberia and Sierra Leone.
That was serious.
And it is emerging. The national budget that we need to fight illegal mining is huge. And I can understand why we are having difficulties with it. But Mr. President's point, for me, spells two things. That the president is appreciating humbly that things have happened in a positive way beyond his own expectations. It's good riddance. We should thank God Almighty for that. But at the same time, it imposes a certain responsibility.
I'll give you 2 minutes on it because I've been warned about time.
That, Mr. President, we should continue to be measured in our expectations and be measured in our undertakings. And go with the words he gave as a New Year message to the New Year school. Unity. There is no better way to unity than to get rid of the triggers of disunity, among which conceitedness, hatred, selfishness, and wickedness. If we will be fidel and be righteous and faithful to the law and show love towards one another with the fear of God as the overriding principle, I am sure we will get there. And many more good things will happen under his reign as President of the Republic of Ghana.
All right, Vicky, you want to take a
Yes, I think, yes. I mean, the president is talking about the real macro gains, and I think we should all be proud. We should join him in celebrating our gratitude for what has happened to our economy, given where we were when he took over. We've had real macro gains. Inflation has fallen sharply. The cedi has stabilized, and I think it's the best performing currency in Africa right now. And international confidence is returning, so investors have started coming back home. What I would now say, last week I said he steadied the ship. It needed to be stabilized. Now we have to power it forward. And I think we need to now grow the economy and get to a point where we can feel it in our pockets. And they have to make sure that these gains, you know, the greedy vendors out there, they have to translate that into reducing prices and all that for all of our benefit.
Yes, Kojo. I think that the context within which you made the comments are also very important, because this was a Thanksgiving service. And I listened to his comments, and that particular party emphasized the fact that he's also thanking God for how far, because as for the economy, there are many triggers and there are many things you can put in place. So you expect certain outcomes, but it has been better than he anticipated, and that's why I believe he was thanking God. And we all should thank God, because and I made this point earlier, nobody knows in this economy whether you're NDC or NPP or CPP or wherever, where you go to the market. People just want to buy food at reasonable prices. You should be able to pay for your rent. You should be able to pay your electricity fees, have a little fun now and then if you want to. So it is good that we are seeing the indicators drop. It's good that we are seeing the positive feedback. It's good that our international rating is better and everything. We thank God for that, but we have to keep pushing forward. And as Vicky said, in this year, we are hoping to even consolidate on those gains and do better, so that everybody in the country will be happy. And Ghana will be the better for it. So,
all right, but let's conclude with something big. We woke up to an announcement by the U.S. that they are withdrawing from the World Health Organization. World Health Organization itself says it therefore regrets the United States notification of withdrawal from World Health Organization, a decision that makes both the United States and the world less safe. Vicky, I'll start with you on this.
So, I mean, it worries me.
I'll give you 2 minutes. All of us take 2 minutes.
Okay, it worries me. I guess the good news is that it doesn't take effect immediately. I think under the WHO rules, they have about a year to exit, and in that time, they must still honor their financial obligations. So it's a legal and procedural step. But what worries me is that the U.S. withdrawal is significant. It cannot be underestimated, because they are one of the largest financial contributors to the WHO. So my worry is that it can weaken global disease surveillance and maybe reduce coordination in pandemic situations going forward. And there's a risk of fragmenting international health responses. And so, because, you know, public health threats don't respect borders. They don't have passports. Yeah, look at what happened in Wuhan, and we all felt it globally, all over the world. You can't contain viruses within national borders. So I think the U.S. has every right to disagree with WHO, or every country has every right to disagree with organizations of which they are members. But I think walking away from it, global health cooperation carries collective risk for all of us. So I think the WHO should try and re-engage with the U.S. and to try and get them to stay, you know, and help to reform it from within. I think that's a better response. And the way they are responding calmly is as if it's nothing, but it's huge. This is a huge thing, and really, if they can, I would like them to stay.
Okay, all right.
Well, I don't know, but United States under Donald Trump, the world is in for something. We all better brace ourselves for it. What I can say is to quote what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and America should be the best country to take a cue from it, that we are caught up in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment called destiny. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. That is the world we live in. Will they pull out, do anything to change the direction of WHO? Yes, they may be a huge and major financier, but the truth of the matter is that no nation on earth today is indispensable.
Absolutely.
The trends are showing. They can pull out, but America will be the loser.
Sure.
I tell you. That's all I would say. You see, His Excellency Donald Trump must remember that he has a term. And beyond that term, it's a life. He came supported largely by the Christian community in America.
Yes, yes.
Is that Christian?
That's not Christ-like.
I'm done.
Well, again, to start off from Donald Trump, he also ran on the agenda of America First.
Yes, yes.
In other words, there are so many things at home that perhaps they were not paying attention to. And so, as we know, he won both the popular vote and the electoral college, which means there was a huge endorsement for that agenda as well. And since he did come into office, we've seen that clearly there's a plan to put the America First. So when I read recently the full report that he commissioned the Secretary of State to analyze all international organizations that the United States were part of and to recommend whether to leave or to remain. It's a significant number of institutions that are leaving. In fact, the WHO is indeed one of the big ones, but they are leaving tens of organizations at the international level because, in their view, they are no longer relevant to them. But we also can make the point quite clearly that the world today is more interconnected than ever before due to technology, logistics, chains, and all of that. And so it is also a bit strange and unwise to see that the United States is basically isolating itself. In the past, if you look over history, countries that isolate themselves essentially they crumble down at some point because people want the freedom to be able to experience and get opportunities from other places. The more you isolate yourself, the more there's internal agitation to open up and so on. And so for me, this is a step they've taken. It's quite unfortunate. The WHO intends to continue to engage them and so on. But the rest of the world, we should also take a cue from it and ensure that we are investing in our countries at the same time as we continue to pursue our international obligations.
I saw a statement from, I don't know if it's true, but I saw the page was attributed to Russia, and a statement from Vladimir Putin on the
on this matter. On Greenland, right.
And the innuendos and the way he went about, like, hey, somebody is
they are taking the cue. Yes. Other countries are taking the cue.
Anyway,
you can't ignore the geopolitics.
Okay. This one says, good morning, Samuel Brace. Very insightful and impactful input by your panel members, especially Dr. James Kwabena Bonfe Kapila. Illegal mining is something we shouldn't entertain as a nation. We have to be very ruthless and heartless in dealing with them. I choose shoot to kill as one of the best approaches in tackling galamsey. Master planner in Kintampo brought this one in. Nana Ekwemo Boateng, watching us from Ablekuma Central, says, good morning, Sam. A very special birthday to Edna Mame Sewa Boama, political science student at University of Ghana. Do have a blissful day. Cheers. Nana Ekwemo Boateng again on that. I think I read the other earlier message that came in. This one also says, Happy Earth Day. Please, I desire to wish my lovely daughter, Miss Emilia Abeka Edu Jr., who just completed UPSA, a happy and glorious birthday. She is +1 today. Therefore, I pray that she ages gracefully in divine wisdom, coupled with good health, long life, and abundant blessings and prosperity. Amen. Thank you very much. But and that's coming from my own Uncle Abeka Edu, Uncle Mike Abeka Edu of Axim. Well, thank you very much for my panel. Dr. James Kwabena Bonfe Kabela is lecturer at UPSA and CEO of Census. Lawyer Vicky Bright is a lawyer and an entrepreneur. And also we have today Lom Nuku Alija Esquire. He's a lawyer and a lecturer at GIMPA as well. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you too for watching. We'll take a break here. We have a lot for you here on the show. Please do stay.
Hello there, we appreciate your company on the AM show. I'm Emefa Akosiadati, and the year has just started. 2026 is very early in the year, so we thought why not touch base with governments, get to know how 2025 ended for them, and what are their plans for 2026. Of course, we appreciate that every sector, every ministry would have their plans, but of course it will sit in the bigger picture of government's ideas and policies. And who best to sit down with? It will be Felix Kwakye. He speaks for the government. Hello, Honorable. How are you doing? 2026 started well
I'm
for
doing
you?
great. Yes, we've started from where we left off last year, and we intend to sustain the momentum as best as we can so that we deliver the goods for our people.
How would you say 2025 ended for you personally?
Well, I think it went well. It was a very hectic year. I moved straight from the campaign into government and the processes leading up to setting up the government. So it's been a hectic year. There was hardly any rest, but I think that all said and done, the effort we put in was worth it. It yielded substantial fruits, which have benefited the generality of the Ghanaian people. So we are happy to put in more hard work going forward.
Sometimes the energy with which you used to do campaign, right, and some of the things you envisage, when you get to government, is it blare, is it cloudy, is it okay, is it what you see as you saw it?
No, government is far more intense than campaigning. And when you're campaigning, you only make commitments. It's easy to make commitments. In government, you have to act. And especially in circumstances like ours, where there are resource constraints, you have to find ways of first generating the resources and then applying those resources to meet the promises and commitments you made to the electorate. Often it is not an easy thing to do, but because we came in prepared, we came in with a clear plan, we have been able to start off in a manner that has been convincing, in a manner that many people are happy about. And we are gratified that that is the case, and we commit to do more going forward.
The NDC government, one of the let's say messages they showed to Ghanaians would be accountability, and that really takes expression in your series that you've been running, the Government Accountability Series, with the Minister for Trade and Agribusiness taking the recent turn. That whole series in itself, if you look at it, is it yielding the intended purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Accountability takes various forms. There's, I beg your pardon.
Sorry.
There's an aspect where you in the media come making inquiries about government programs and about any number of issues, which is all well and good, and we do our best to respond to you and provide answers. But there's also the need to be proactive. In other words, take the issues to the doorstep of the people, even before they raise it. There's also something called process communication. Between the period that you start something and the time that it gains traction and yields fruits, you need to keep the people informed and carry them along. After all, we are in government only because of the people. We are here because the people give us power and a mandate, and then give us resources to execute the mandate. So in the execution of the mandate, we need to carry them along, keep them informed, and make sure that they understand exactly what we are doing. So we thought that there was a need to create a platform that is regular, through which we disseminate government information and keep the public apprised of what exactly we are doing in government, sector by sector, so that everything government is doing, they are made aware of. And therefore, we started this sometime last year. All key ministers have been here, save a few, and it's gone very, very well. It receives wide media coverage. The feedback has been great. We also leverage social media to reach as many of our people as possible, and we've enjoyed very pleasant cooperation from you, the media, and this has ensured that the message reaches the people. This year will continue. The first to appear was the Trade Minister only a couple of days ago, where she recounted work that her ministry has been doing, the gains that have been made, and what the plans are going forward. We expect the Minister for Works and Housing to be here next week.
Works and Housing.
Works and Housing. He will take his turn next week, and once he does, he will also update the country on
what's likely to take center stage.
Oh, I think that the issues of housing, works, water, and all the other things that come together.
Everybody's looking forward to Segleme.
That of course he will give an update on it. He will provide an update. Even if he doesn't, I'm sure the media will ask questions, but he will definitely provide an update on Segleme and other housing projects that are ongoing there.
Well, what's the difference between this series that you coordinate from the one that happened in the previous government? What's the difference?
Well, I think that first of all, it is held at the presidency.
Okay.
So the stakes are much higher. And then the way that we structure it, we do it within a very specific time frame, and we ensure that it is crisp, it doesn't drag too long and bore the audience, and that the ministers cut to the chase and deal with the issues that really matter. And thus far, it's been good. It's been good. I think that through that, we've managed to, and also the use of social media has been quite impressive in this one. So on all platforms, we gain the traction that we need.
While I understand what this government accountability series seeks to do, I can't help but just take a look at the RTI that kind of obligates public institutions to make available data sets.
That is true.
Most information that the public would need. Do you think that if RTI was functioning very well, you would need this?
No, RTI does not compel ministries, departments, and agencies to give proactive information. What often happens is that people who are interested in obtaining specific information about anything happening in any government agency write to request for that information. And the agencies are obliged, of course, subject to specific conditions, to provide that information. So there's a word of difference between that and proactively going to the public through the power of the media with information about government operations, activities, and how the mandate is being utilized, and also how the promises and commitments that we've made to the people are being implemented. Yes.
I ask this question because while we expect the ministries or public agencies to come and give this accountability to the public, it's quite difficult because then we see that sometimes they take questions which you often will moderate. And if information is not already available, journalists like myself, if you don't proactively presume certain areas that the minister would come and give account on, then you have to attend to that series first, listen, and then ask questions. If information was already available, would it be any different?
Yes, but the whole idea is first for the minister to account for his or her stewardship. What exactly has happened in the ministry? Because of the constraints of time, it is not possible to discuss everything that has gone on. So there may be a few matters that may not be touched on. That is where the input of journalists is needed. Because before the ministers come, it is advertised. So you know exactly who is coming. And therefore, you do your research, carry out your research, which I expect journalists to do anyway. Even for this interview, I'm sure you did your research on the relevant issues to know what questions to ask and all that. So it's the same with the journalists. They may have issues that may not necessarily have been raised at the events, and to the extent that it is relevant to the sector, we encourage the journalists to ask those questions, and the ministers are prepared to answer as best as they can.
What do you say to people who say that it's just a platform for government personnel to make themselves look good?
Oh, how so? I mean, people who come here to do it, the ministers, I mean, they can be assessed on the basis of the content that they deliver. So when the minister says anything, and in this day and age, it is very possible to fact check and verify the information that is given out. So it is not a beauty contest, it is not a popularity contest, it is only a platform designed to render accounts to the people of Ghana in whose name we work in government.
For another type of accountability, let's just say for check, when a minister or a ministry appears on that platform, and of course you say that the stakes are different because it's held at the presidency, and they make certain commitments. For your office, what do you do to ensure, to compel them to ensure that these commitments that they have said or made on these platforms, they adhere to it? For example, the Attorney General said that in January he will be charging Kofi Akpaloo. For example, if January ends and he doesn't, for your ministry, what would you do? How can we?
Oh, I think that it even goes beyond my outfit. There's a system in government through which government commitments and assurances are monitored. So the system that prods ministers to live up to their words and the commitment. I mean, in any event, even before that commitment is made, the minister would have been mandated to carry out that activity by cabinet, because cabinet is overall decision-making body in government. So government meets regularly to consider government policy and then give approval for the implementation. The minister would regularly have to report to cabinet on implementation. So even before the minister comes out, government itself will be aware of where things are in terms of implementation. And then where there are gaps, there's a mechanism through which they are prodded to fill in those gaps. Of course, on my part, because I need to keep up with what is happening everywhere, I'm constantly in touch with the minister to find out what is happening. And sometimes when we pick up feedback on aspects of their work, we relay it to them. We seek clarification with clarity. Sometimes we have inquiries from journalists both within and without the country who want information about any number of issues, and we direct them to these ministries, or where it is necessary, we as it were put together the information and give it back to them. So we play a coordinating role in terms of finding out whatever is happening in government, and that is my job. On a daily basis, I have to stay on top of the issues and find out what is happening everywhere.
It's an early start of the year, but a lot is happening already, from NPA, from oil marketing companies up in arms against each other already. In fact, Ghana Statistical Service giving us some data that a good number, or a significant number of people have moved from multi-dimensional poverty level to some good rates. But if you look at the data again, it draws our attention to the fact that some regions still are quite unevenly distributed. Many say that development doesn't really get to certain regions. This is not a problem that started under your regime, started years ago, but now the data is available to you. What does this data tell you?
Well, I mean, many reasons account for the disparity. Sometimes the age of the regions. A region that was recently created is most likely to lag behind others that have been there for quite some time. It is a natural order of things. And so development has to be evenly spread. So if you look at some of the policies that President Obama is implementing, he has said, for instance, that all the new regions should get new district hospitals where they don't have any. The new regions should get universities where none exists, and certain specific facilities and development projects should go to these regions. Now that we achieve some equilibrium, or if you like parity, in the human development indices in these places. All that is done to deliberately ensure that development is evenly spread. The word actually is equity, because what may be needed in Accra will not be the same as what may be needed, for instance, in the central region. The needs differ. So depending on their needs, policies are tailored to respond to those. But where there are commonalities in terms of the things that are required, an effort is made to distribute them evenly. As we said, it's a long-standing problem, and there are regions that clearly lag behind.
Is migration playing any role in this?
Oh, of course. If you could argue that if the best and brightest in these regions constantly live in search of greener pastures in areas that they perceive to be more advanced, more developed, then it's going to leave a certain deficit in the areas where they come from. But if we plan development such that it is equitably spread, and that everywhere in this country has a basic minimum level of development that makes life comfortable for the people. It would not be necessary for the best and brightest in these regions to live to urban areas in search of what they perceive to be greener pastures or better opportunities. Once that is achieved, then you are going to be able to partly resolve the problem. And government is interested in ensuring that opportunities are equally distributed. In fact, if you look at the way that the District Assembly Common Fund has been utilized, for instance, we put a guideline on the way that the funds should be utilized. So, for instance, we have something we call a 24-hour economy market. We notice that it is not every part of this country that has a modern market or commercial trading facility. And therefore, it was necessary to have an intervention that ensures that every district at least has a market or trading facility of an appreciable standard, such that they don't lag behind other areas and then create the sort of disparities that you are referring to. And so this is currently
24-hour economy has my attention. We'll come to that.
Sure.
This is on this table. Let's go back to some of the things that the GSS mentioned were the reasons, were the thematic areas they used. In fact, one area that came that shocked me was health. I would have thought standard of living would just be okay, employment, education. But health took the second pointer, which they used. Then it brings me to the Agenda 111, which you brought. Of course, you have uncapped the NHIS, but Agenda 111, what kind of Agenda 111 did the previous government leave for you? Because we hear different accounts of it, and I'll take it from you that what kind of Agenda 111 did you inherit?
Well, I think that it was always clear from the very beginning that it was a rushed policy. It was not properly thought through. It was a knee-jerk response to, if you like, political criticism that the government at the time had not done much in terms of health infrastructure. And so they were in a hurry, especially because elections were approaching, to show that they were doing something about health. And you recall that this promise was first made in 2019. At 2020, at the height of COVID. No, it wasn't post-COVID. When COVID broke out, it was at the height of COVID that the promise was made. But it was clear that it was knee-jerk because it was an ambitious program. Yet there was no corresponding allocation of resources to complete it. If I remember correctly, they said each hospital was going to cost $17 million to construct. That is plus equipment. And therefore, if you did the math, they needed a minimum of $2 billion, which at the time, even if you use an exchange rate of 15 cedis, it would be 30 billion cedis. It was obvious that government was going to struggle, especially given the state of the economy at the time. The government was going to struggle to meet this particular objective. And lo and behold, they couldn't finish one and open it for public use before they left office.
The person who was quite directly in charge, Dr. Nsiasari, mentioned that he quite would not agree when we say that none of them were operationalized, because even when they inherited the government at the time that you left, they had some hospitals that they came to operationalize. They mentioned UGMC, they mentioned...
There are two different things. UGMC was fully funded. At the time they came to power, we had secured $217 million out of UGMC. In fact, President Mama actually opened UGMC, I think on January 4th.
They say they operationalized it.
Well, I don't know what they mean by operationalizing. But President Mama opened UGMC on January 4th, 2017, I beg your pardon, before he left office. Of course, there were a few things that he needed to add, but there was money set aside to do that. That was not the case under Agenda 111. There was not a dime anywhere. Indeed, the Auditor General has recently said that there were instances where they even paid some contractors some money, up to about $7.9 million. And the contractors did not set foot on any site to construct the hospitals after having taken the money. But that was not the case for UGMC or the Radio Hospital or any of the other hospitals that they had to do some minimum work in order to, as it were, operationalize. So we are talking about two different things. If you inherit a situation where there's money sitting on an account to complete a project, completing it will be much easier than when you don't mean anything. They initiated a program that was going to cost $2 billion and yet did not have $2 billion to finance it. So it was always going to be an albatross around the neck of government.
This is suggest that every project that is started by a certain government will usually have funds available.
So there are different types of projects. For example, if we're doing a 3-unit classroom block, a 6-unit classroom block, that one you can use the trickles that often comes by way of GOG funding to complete it. But when you design a $2 billion project, you need to have dedicated funding. Otherwise, it's going nowhere. So it depends on the kind of project you are doing. That is why when we were doing those mega projects, we had money. Look at the Terminal 3. Money had been secured for it. The KJTF market, we had over $250 million from Deutsche Bank or so to complete it. Look at the Pakadam project. We had close to $400 million from the Indian Exim Bank to undertake it. UGMC at $270 million, Radio Hospital at $250 million to complete. So all these projects were funded. So when you inherit it, all you need to do is to draw down to carry out any activity that is left to operationalize it. But in the case of Agenda 111, they didn't leave anything. So it was more like slogans that they were singing. They tried to scratch around for money here, money there through within government's own budgets in order to be able to do the project. But it was obvious that the money was not forthcoming. That is how come they were not able to operationalize. Because how can you plan to build 111 hospitals and not open even one over a period of 5 years?
But I thought the President commissioned about 3 of them.
That is not true. None of them was operational. There was not a single patient that had entered any Agenda 111 hospital when we came to power.
What's the government doing about it then?
So government has decided that it is not going to be able to scramble $2 billion or whatever. I think at the last instance, we need about $1.5 billion to complete it. And therefore, it is obvious that finding that kind of money at this time will be difficult. So we have to do it in phases. Okay. So this year, money has been set aside in the budget to complete 10 of them. And then as we go forward, more and more will be brought on stream. That is a more sustainable way of addressing it, rather than spreading ourselves thin and looking for money where it does not exist and purporting to be completing all of them at the same time when we are clearly unable to do so. But that is a lesson in how not to govern, how not to make lofty promises when you know clearly that you do not have the means to carry it out. But we have learned lessons, and therefore whatever we do, we plan it carefully and then are able to realize the resources required to be able to execute it.
Talking about health, another area comes to mind. Light wave was a conversation that came to the fore at the end of 2025. I still think it's lurking in the background. And since we're talking about health, it's just okay that we address it. Again, because of the pool or where we go to take information, data sets and data sources. Did it surprise you that, of course, today you may have to confirm, did we have control over our data?
We did not. I think the health minister held 2 press briefings on the matter, and the facts were very, very clear. First of all, so the time that we came to power, no contract existed between us and Light because the contract had elapsed. They were unable to complete the project within the period that was stated in the contract. And 3, it was obvious that we did not have control over the data. Indeed, you can testify that there were many instances where there were glitches because the person who was in charge of it was switching it off and on as and when he pleased because of the dispute he had with the health minister.
The explanation don't cut it.
I don't think that the explanations suffice. Bottom line is that when we came to power, they had not completed the project. We did not have control over it, and therefore steps are being taken now to ensure that we build a system that we have full control over and that we are not at the mercy of any individual who can do as they please.
Well, we would build on that.
So I think that the health ministry should be able to give you a much better update on it. But I do know that we are not far away from fully operationalizing it. Yeah.
Okay. And so generally, I'm keen on health because of the way it took the center stage in how it contributed to people moving out or in and out of poverty level. Generally, what kind of health sector are we looking to have?
I think that we need a health sector that is fit for purpose and that is able to address the health concerns of the people. So we need to have the infrastructure. We need to have the systems. We need to have the value chain that enables healthcare delivery to be administered to our people. So government has quite elaborate plans on what to do. Again, it is even one thing to have the infrastructure and quite another to have people afford the services that are rendered. So we have NHIS, but for many years, NHIS had underperformed. There were issues with releases of funding and there were issues with arrears and debts owed service providers and what have you. That is no longer the case because the president right from the time that he was campaigning to be elected, insisted that he would uncap the NHIS, which he has done. That has freed more resources, so that now NHIS is in a position to honor claims payments promptly. Indeed, the last time I conferred with the CEO of the NHIS, he told me that they had money in the accounts waiting for claims to be made.
That's nice
by the service. But yes, that's the first time that I'm hearing this with the NHIS. In the past, the releases were few and far between. They were sparsely done, and even that one, the one that was released, was not timeously disbursed to health service providers, and it created a mess. Now that has been overcome, so much so that they have enough resources to even try other interventions, like the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, for instance, into which about 2.4 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated to address issues of non-communicable disease and chronic diseases that afflict many people in this country. And the cost of treating non-communicable diseases is quite prohibitive, and so it's become a major problem. I think that sometime in 2024 or the year before, it became topical with the closure of the Renal Center at Kolebu and other such developments. Again, because of the uncapping of the NHIS, we are now able to roll out the free primary health care initiative, and 1.5 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated to that. So you see that our health system is performing better than before, and the government is determined to tie all loose ends. So we have a health system that is robust and able to meet the needs of our people.
I mean, back to accountability, just when we were making the point about Agenda 111, you brought the conversation on the 35 contractors that the Auditor General had just also flagged. Where are we with that?
Well, I think that he has surcharged them. He has requested or demanded a refund. So the Auditor General will invoke appropriate laws to pursue them, and therefore we expect that within reasonable time, he should be able to recover.
Does it look like we can recover all of it?
Well, there are legal processes to use to do so, and therefore I'm sure the General is well versed in what steps to take to recover those funds.
It looks, I mean, I'm a Ghanaian and as a journalist as well, I hear looks like there's a certain appetite and temperature for accountability for corruption and corruption-related matters. Every time the Attorney General mounts your podium and gives an account on where he is with certain corruption and corruption-related cases, the country really gets our full attention. Yeah. The whole fight against corruption and corruption-related matters in this country, what's your personal assessment before we take it?
Well, I think that it was obvious that there was simply too much waste and corruption and theft of public resources. I think that you in the media were the ones who used to bombard us with corruption scandal after corruption scandal. And it got to a point where people simply became fatigued and simply came to the conclusion that there was a need to change government in order that those who are believed to have engaged in such corruption are held to account. The NDC tabled the Operation Cover All Routes as a proposition to the people as a main tool through which we will ensure that accountability is demanded from public office holders. And since we've been in power, a lot has been done. There are 280 cases, different cases of corruption that are being looked into. And you recall that the President set up the Oral Preparatory Committee, and their task was just to put together information relating to these alleged cases. They presented a report with the 280 cases, and I can tell you that the Attorney General has commissioned investigations into each of them. You see, the report itself could not have formed the basis for any legal action against anybody because they were just reports. It's like you coming to tell me that your cameraman has done the ABCD. I cannot simply say that because you have said it, then I hold him and throw him into jail. I mean, it will not make sense.
How then did you put a value on it, on how much we could recover?
No, so for instance,
that's an estimate?
It's an estimate. So that if this phone costs 200 cedis and it was stolen, that is the amount involved. If you were held accountable for stealing it, it means that you had engaged in corruption to the tune of 200 Ghana. So you put all the figures involved together. There are some that you can recover. Others may yet be difficult because of the nature of the offense. But the point I'm making is that all the 280 cases are receiving attention. I can tell you that more than 100 people have been hauled in for questioning. Some have been arrested. Some were detained for some time. Some have been granted bail. And others too are in court. There are over 20 cases whose dockets are almost done and will be going to court. The Attorney General has already proceeded to court on a number of those cases. So everything is being done to fully implement Operation Cover All It. I understand that because of the pervasive nature of the corruption in the recent past, people want to see results and they want it done in a rapid fashion. Government appreciates that fully, except that oral itself has to be done in accordance with Ghanaian law. We cannot act extrajudicially. So anybody accused of wrongdoing must be taken through a process, and the process will end up in a court. When the Attorney General prepares his case and goes to court, it is a court that is in control of the management of the case, a court that determines the timelines within which the case is heard, not the Attorney General. The Attorney General's role is to show up and present evidence that Mr. A or Mr. B has done A, B, C, D, and therefore believes that he has offended Ghanaian law and should be held to account. The court then determines when the case is heard. The court determines how the process is conducted, and then the court determines when the case ends. So it is not within the power of the Attorney General or government to determine the duration of a case. If it was the case that the Attorney General was not forthcoming, he goes to court and court is called and does not show up, he doesn't come to prosecute the case, then you can blame him. But once he goes to court and is following due process, I think that we need to support him. Due process is important because without it, we will live in the jungle and people will be treated unfairly. You see, justice has to be done. The operative word is justice. What is justice? You must use fair means to assess an individual's guilt or innocence. And that is precisely what is happening.
Is it the pervasive nature of which we perceive corruption, or it is the Attorney General? I mean, people say that we have a different kind of Attorney General, you know. He is quite apt with giving information. He likes to really meet the media and tell us everything that's happening. They say that's quite different. In fact, many criticize him, saying that he seems to even convict his people before he takes them to court.
No, Attorney General can convict. Only a court convicts people.
I agree.
If I said, just for purposes of this conversation, you've stolen this phone, I have not convicted you. I have only accused you. You understand me? The only way you'll be convicted is if you are taken to court and evidence is established against you that indeed you have done what I say you have done. That is when the court will convict you. So merely saying that as Attorney General, when I came into office, I had information that MFR had taken this phone. I therefore asked the BNI to investigate the matter. They have done an investigation. They say that on Wednesday, MFR sneaked into this office and took this phone. I have evidence that MFR did it. So tomorrow, I'm taking MFR to court, and I will tell the court that MFR has taken my phone and therefore should face the consequences. I have not convicted you. I have only accused you of an offense. When I say that, nobody will pick you and take you to prison.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so nobody can talk about conviction. You are allowed to come to court and tell the judge that what I said is not true, and that indeed the phone is yours. This is a receipt that shows that it is yours. You only lent it to me. And when you came into my office, I was not there. So you picked it and informed my secretary that you had come for the phone.
Many say that there's reputation matter here because corruption is quite...
Everybody who is taken to court suffers that. Because, and mind you, court cases are not secret affairs. At Joy News, you have a court correspondent, don't you?
Yeah.
Who reports extensively on everything that happens in court. Why do you send a correspondent? It is to follow the case. So every case that goes to court is a public matter. The public knows. You in the media report it. In fact, when the case is determined and it is reported in the law reports, you can access the law report and read the details, everything that was said in court. So it is not a secret.
But by this time, it would have finished in court, right?
Yeah, but the point is that I'm saying that what the Attorney General sees is no different from what he says in court. That's all.
How do you feel about...
So really, to say that the Attorney General has done anything else, it is not extraordinary. You see, accountability is not limited to only some things. You understand me? The Attorney General is a public official. He has power to detain you for, of course, within the boundaries of the law. Now, so you hear that, oh, the Attorney General has ordered the arrest of MFR. MFR is being kept at BNI. That's all. You get a test report like that. Then tomorrow, the Attorney General comes and says, yes, on Wednesday, I ordered the NIB to detain MFR. And the reason is that I had information that she had taken this phone unlawfully. And I've looked into it, and then I know for a fact, because of the evidence I have, that indeed she has done. So I'm taking her to court tomorrow. That is all. Because he has to account for the exercise of that power. The power to detain you, it curtails your rights. So the public must know, your family must know, your friends must know, your loved ones must know, and the Ghanaian public must know why the Attorney General decided to curtail your freedom on a particular date.
How do we measure the Attorney General's decision to discontinue certain cases? It's public knowledge.
The Attorney General has power,
of course,
to do what they call nullify. You see, the Attorney General goes to court only when he is convinced that he will secure conviction and that there is sufficient evidence to back the matter. Now, one Attorney General can decide that there is evidence that this watch is not yours. If I replace him owing to the change of government, and I review the case and I find that no, there's a gray area in this matter, which, if pursued, can lead to an acquittal of the accused person. There's no point, because you see, the Attorney General does not prosecute maliciously. If he is not aware of evidence of wrongdoing, he does not have to go to court. There are instances when some people, for political reasons, prosecute people just to waste their time or teach them where power lies. If another Attorney General comes and reviews the case and finds that there's no basis for it, and therefore there's no point wasting, because going to court costs money. It costs resources to investigate. It costs resources sometimes to obtain evidence, to get prosecutors to go to court. And the time and resources involved should be used only in cases where there is some certainty of securing conviction. But if that certainty is absent, the Attorney General is within his rights to say that I can no longer continue this case, but I don't think I'll succeed. Why? Under the previous government, in the Atufosin matter, at a point, the Attorney General issued a null prosecutor against the second accused person. He is the present person who took him to court, but at some point, he issued a null prosecutor for reasons best known to him. Null prosecutor has been issued. Nana Konedu, may God rest her soul. At the time that the 2008 elections were held, was standing trial. After the election,
remind me.
I think it was about the Nsawam Kanwe matter.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. Right after the elections, the then Attorney General issued an only prosecutor in that particular case. Because he didn't think that there was any point continuing. But it was that Attorney General that took her to court.
So it's not what we're thinking, that once there's a change of government.
No, it has nothing to do with that. You review, and indeed, to the credit of this Attorney General, for the first time, he publicly stated the reasons why he had issued a null prosecutor. That itself goes to show the level of transparency that he is operating with. And I think that he deserves commendation for doing that. You know, by law, he is not required to explain why he discontinues it. In fact, he doesn't even need to tell the court why he is discontinuing a prosecution. But this Attorney General came out publicly on his own volition to explain. Indeed, he held 2 press conferences to explain his decisions to discontinue particular cases. And it's power that is available. The same laws that gives the Attorney General the right to conduct investigations and prosecute people allows him to discontinue a case if he believes that that case is going nowhere, that there's not sufficient basis to ground a continuation of that case.
But as a country, why are we still discussing stringent bail conditions, which has become a mere basis on which the former finance minister, I like to think, would say that he's quite concerned about how he would be treated when he comes to Ghana? Just a casual look. I don't speak for
I've had cause in the week, just last week, to dismiss that position. You see, the former finance minister cannot be treated specially. He cannot be treated differently from how everybody
even if
MFA, you see, we are a country of rule of law. What it means that if any institution engages in conduct that is contrary to law, there is a recourse. So a court can rein in that state institution. So for instance, if the NIB or IOCO arrest you today and they set what you believe to be unreasonable bail terms, all your lawyers need to do is to go to court and show the court why they say it's unreasonable. The court will order your release. So the IOCO or the CID or NIB are not a law unto themselves. They are subject to Ghanaian law. So for somebody to say that stringent bail conditions will be imposed on Mr. Ofuriatta so he won't come, it's an astonishing claim.
Will be treated.
How would he be treated? First of all, how has everybody else in Ghana been treated? That is so extraordinary, exceptional, that Mr. Ofuriatta does not want to subject himself to. He was in government a while ago, wasn't he? When he was in government, there were people who had served in the first Mahama administration who were taken to court and they face the same process that he will be taken through in the event that the special prosecutor or any other authority believes that he has to take him to court. Why does he not want to subject himself to the same thing that everybody has subjected himself to? You see, he's not the first former finance minister to have a brush with the law. Mr. Kwakye Ofosu was finance minister under Mr. Rawlings. When he left office, in the quality grain case, indeed, the judge who presided over that matter in his ruling, in his judgment, stated that Mr. Pepra and his colleagues had not stolen anything, except that their conduct had led to financial loss to the state. Mr. Pepra, as former finance minister, subjected himself. Mr. Pepra is just as highly educated as Ken Ofori-Atta. He attended Columbia University. He is an electrical engineer by training, and he became finance minister. He was formerly Minister for Energy and Mines. He subjected himself to Ghanaian law. He too could have fled and cited mistreatment or perceived mistreatment, or in this instance, phantom mistreatment as a reason why he's fleeing from the law. I think Mr. Ofori-Atta is simply attempting to evade justice. That's all. Because the excuses he's providing are not tenable. Nothing has happened in this country to suggest that he will be treated extrajudicially. Since we've been in power, there are former NPP officials who are standing trial, not so. As for to me, he was not even a government official, he was a party official. He is standing trial. As of now, he is a free man. He goes to court and goes back home. Why is Mr. Ofori-Atta more human than Mr. Wontumi, who is a member of the NPP? Mr. Abdul Hanan, the former CEO of the Buffer Stock, National Buffer Stock Company Limited. He was an official in the NPP government, was he not? Today he is standing trial. Is he less human than Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta? Gift Owari of National Service, Mr. Osesibi of National Service fame. Are they not standing trial? Are they any less human than Ken Ofori-Atta? Did they all not serve in the same government? So why is an exception being made for Mr. Ofori-Atta?
Area of interest, is it justice in the form where there are collections, or there are also...
We said operation recover all loot. So where there's opportunity to recover the loot, why not? You go after it. There are instances where you can be convicted, and convicted, I beg your pardon, and then your properties to can be pursued to recover whatever it is that the state can get from doing so. So that is allowed, and that is precisely what will be done. In fact, in many cases, once the investigation begins, they do concurrent asset tracing to see if they can recover anything for the state, and it is perfectly lawful.
When you look at Sedna Tamaklo's case, does it come to you as though she was fleeing justice?
Well, I think that it was in the course of the trial that she sought leave of the court to seek medical treatment. She didn't come back. The court convicted her in absentia. Indeed, as far back as July 2024, the then Attorney General had filed extradition processes in the United States of America for the American authorities to apprehend her and bring her. And so when people say that the NDC government was doing nothing about a case, we found it amusing, because we knew that the government of Ghana had already initiated the process and gone through the process to get her to be brought here. The American authorities conducted their search. They found her. I think they arrested her on the same day that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta was arrested. And she was supposed to go to court yesterday, I believe. I don't know what the...
That's the date that was widely published.
So I don't know what has come out of that. But whatever it is...
But does it look to you as though she was fleeing justice?
Well, I think that you can say that to the extent that she did not avail herself again, that may be the case. But then again, it is up to her to use any legal recourse to show otherwise. And that is why even when you request for extradition, the subject of the extradition request must appear before a judge to determine the merits of the extradition request. If they don't find it meritorious, they will not allow the person to leave their jurisdiction, at least for the purposes of coming to stand trial. And so that is why due process is important. Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is availing himself or he is appearing before U.S. judicial authorities to determine whether or not he should be brought here. Same is being done for Sedina. Once the process is complete and the determination is made that she should come here, due process will be followed to do whatever it is that must be done in her particular case. But let nobody say that Mr. Ofori-Atta should be treated specially because he has concerns about how he will be treated. As far as I know, Ghana is not a banana republic. We don't throw people into jail without real cause to due process. And indeed, as I had cause to say last week, there was a gentleman, Gregory Afoko, who under the government that Ken Ofori-Atta served in had been granted bail by a court, yet he was kept in custody for several years. I think in total he was in custody for 10 years, despite having been granted bail by a court. He is human, is he not? Mr. Ofori-Atta says he's not feeling well, and I empathize fully with him. But under him, I mentioned that forcing case to you. The second accused, Dr. Sylvester Animana, he used to be the chief director of the health ministry. He had severe kidney failure. He had hearing impairment. He had visual impairment. He could not walk, so he was in a wheelchair. Every time the case was called, he came from his house around Ashoman to the court on the high street and sat down for hours for the case to be heard. If somebody who suffered these severe ailments was put before trial by the government that Ken Ofori-Atta was part of, why is he seeking special treatment? Is he more human than Dr. Sylvester Animana? And what will be done to him? Why? So the moment he comes here, we will throw him into jail without taking him to court, or is that what he is suggesting? That is not what will happen. What will happen is that he will be arrested, he will be interrogated like everybody. If they find that there is basis, he will be charged and taken to court. And mind you, it is a special prosecutor who is pursuing Ken Ofori-Atta. The special prosecutor has only elicited the help of government for because the extradition process has to be done by the Attorney General. That's all. And the special prosecutor was appointed by Ken Ofori-Atta's president, President Akufo-Addo, not President Mahama. So on what basis is he expressing fear about the appointee of his own cousin?
If the extradition process goes through just for purpose of learning, and then he is extradited back to Ghana, the Attorney General then just hands him over to
the authorities will hand him over to the special prosecutor. And the special prosecutor is mandated by law to prosecute people. He is prosecuting some people, is he not? In fact, even President Mahama, when he left office, was a subject of investigation by the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor actually invited him for questioning, and he obliged. So if a former president, in fact, President Rawlings, when he left office in 2001, for giving the famous boom speech, was invited by the BNI for questioning. He subjected himself to that process. So if former presidents can subject themselves to investigative processes, why is a former finance minister seeking to exalt himself above the laws of Ghana and citing all these untenable excuses to evade justice?
If you look at the immigration laws and extradition processes as well can be so detailed.
Yes.
From where you sit,
absolutely.
Does it look like Ken Ofori-Atta will definitely come to Ghana?
Well, if indeed, at least the special prosecutor who has slapped charges on him has told the Attorney General that he has cause to require Ken Ofori-Atta's presence in Ghana, and therefore the Attorney General should begin the extradition process. The Attorney General requested details of the case to satisfy himself that there is basis to do so, because even the U.S. authorities would request details to satisfy themselves that there is basis to do so. Indeed, you may have read that the judge hearing Ken Ofori-Atta's case now requested for evidence of the extradition request. And that will come with detailed documentation on what the issues are and why he is wanted. If he finds it meritorious, he will ask that they bring him to Ghana. And when he comes, he will go through the same process that everybody else has gone through when they have been accused of wrongdoing.
Back in Ghana,
yes,
the Constitution Committee, review committee, they have finished their work. I know that it's also been presented to the president.
That is true.
But what are we doing with it?
Well, I think that the president gave an indication of the next steps. It is not the report of a commission, so Ghana will not issue a white paper. If it had been the report of a commission, then we will issue a white paper stating our position. Nonetheless, government will issue a statement to state its position on the various findings, the ones that it agrees with, the ones that it disagrees with, and what proposals there are. After that, an implementation committee will be set up to implement the recommendations, and then they will kickstart all the processes. It has to go to Parliament. Those ones that have to be subjected to a referendum. All of that.
Which part of the recommendation excites you personally?
Oh, I think that there are many of them. For good reason, I would leave that to the government statement, rather than expressing a personal opinion. I think that it will be prudent to wait for the government's position. That will constitute my position as well. And therefore, everybody will know what government makes of the recommendations. But by and large, I think that they've done a good job. The consensus around it has been good. People have praised their work. People have also expressed their disagreements, which is fine. But eventually, it will go into informing what changes we make to the constitution, which, though has served us well in the last 32, 33 years, requires some fine-tuning so that it reflects changing times and the present exigencies.
24-hour economy. I dare say that it was your flagship promise.
Yes, you can say so. Maybe it was the most popular promise. I believe that the fixing the economy and the problems we had was, in my view, the number one expectation that we had about this land. But 24-hour economy was perhaps the most popular of the promises we made, and it gained wide acceptability. And indeed, since we've been in power, we've been taking steps to implement it. One of the first appointments the president made was an advisor on the implementation of the 24-hour economy. He's been at work with his team. They are almost done with the framework. At the moment, steps are being taken to establish the 24-hour authority, which will then have the full mandate of law to implement the 24-hour economy program. About 110 million Ghana cedis has been allocated to them to facilitate the implementation. When they are done, they would then roll out a program to register all entities that want, both in the public and private sector, that want to participate in the program. And then they will take steps to ensure that the incentives that we promised as basis for the implementation of the 24-hour economy program are put in place. Then we'll begin to reap the full benefits of that program, because it is a game changer that will revolutionize the economy. It will expand the frontiers of our economy, and more importantly, create jobs. Because once you expand the economy, it means that you create more space for the teeming youth of our country who are in search of jobs. And we are excited that this will start pretty soon. Yeah.
Some of the commitments that you make during campaign, when you are in government, definitely you may want to look at it again. When I imagine 24-hour economy under this government or under this regime, what shall I imagine? What shall I think of?
Basically, it's an economy that never sleeps, that works around the clock, and that is able to create additional space for businesses, both in the private and public sector, to flourish, and in so doing, create more job opportunities for our youth. That essentially is what the 24-hour economy. Mind you, it is also complemented by an accelerated export development program, because which first aims at achieving import substitution, so that those things that we import that we can manufacture here, in which we have comparative advantage, we do so. And then we switch to an export orientation, where we are now able to export products and be able to earn foreign exchange to address some of the problems we've had with our currency.
When I looked at the document during the launch, I noticed that it's been put in some thematic areas in achieving that policy. In there somewhere, I still saw that there were some factories that will be started. Then I asked, why then do you discontinue 1D, 1F?
No, but none of the factories under 1D, 1F has been done away with, so to speak. But if you set up a factory, I would imagine that is the initial setup that you require help. But once you start working over a period of time, you should be able to operate on your own. We don't believe that the way that they were doing it was a way to go. We believe that you need to create the space to incentivize these companies to flourish, rather than just throwing money in there. And also, they implemented the 1D, 1F in a manner that was difficult to measure in terms of tangibility and outcome. It did little to reverse our import dependence. It did little to help us achieve an export orientation. And it certainly did little to ensure that we overcome the challenges with Forex and all the associated difficulties. So it was important that we have a more broader program that addressed economic expansion and unemployment.
What kind of promise are you giving to young people watching you today? Just some months ago, the same Ghana Skill Service, and I'm quite passionate about it, says that 1.3 million young people do not have jobs. Are these real numbers?
Well, of course, it is unacceptably high, but even this is what the Skill Service is able to churn out. So it is not acceptable. It is way too high, and it is a major threat to the well-being of the young people of this country. And government is working hard to reverse this trend. So there are a number of programs, apart from the 24-hour economy. Even the stability of the economy itself allows businesses to be able to invest more. When they invest more, they expand, and they are then able to, as it were, employ more young people. So the first order of business is to fix the economy. Interest rates are falling from 30s to around 18, 15 or so. That then means that businesses are able to borrow at a less expensive rate to expand their businesses. And once they do that, they are then able to employ more people. So that's one of the ways that you address the unemployment. Then there's direct government intervention through policies like the 24-hour economy. And then there are policies in apprenticeship. In fact, as I speak to you, I have an invitation from the Abuasi Bukwamaka Citizens Assembly to attend the presentation of equipment to people who have been trained in various crafts and trades under the National Apprenticeship Program. So I'll be going next weekend to participate in that program. They are part of thousands of people, young people who have been trained under this government. You recall that money was allocated for it in the 2025 budget. Money has been allocated to it for it in the 2026 budget also. So
did we exhaust the money that was allocated in the 2025 budget?
Absolutely. I think that about 10,000 youth have benefited from National Apprenticeship Program. Similar numbers are expected this year. There's also the Jumera program, which aims at creating entrepreneurs as opposed to job seekers. That one too, I know that there are thousands of youth who they are training in various entrepreneurial activities. Indeed, when the trade minister was here for the government accountability series, he disclosed that up to 154,000 youth had been trained in apprenticeship, and that thousands of them have been given startup kits to start their own business. Indeed, she also mentioned that millions of cedis had been given to some of them as startup capital. So all these efforts come together to form a framework within which government is trying, in addition to conventional employment opportunities, to allow young people to own their own business, to receive training so that they can set up on their own and perhaps even employ other young people who are seeking jobs. So there's a panoply of options that government is exploring to address the unemployment. But we are the first to concede that unemployment is extremely high, unacceptably high, and something urgent needs to be done about it, which is precisely what we are doing.
Okay. I mean, I'll take you back to the Constitution Review Committee. Any timelines particularly? I know that you will not issue a white paper, but you would at least...
There will be a statement that conveys government's position. I think that it should be done in the coming weeks. The President said that once the New Year festivities are over, we will get down to it. And it is being worked on as I speak to you. Okay. Because the Attorney General and the President's legal counsel and other stakeholders are studying the report, so it will not be long before the position is put out and the next steps undertaken.
Okay. How much or what will it cost us to revisit the LGBTQ bill or conversation?
Well, I don't think it costs anything. The bill is in Parliament. I'm an MP, so I know that the bill is in Parliament. So it's going through the usual processes that bills go through. Unfortunately, the NPP government dragged their feet and refused to sign the bill into law, even when Parliament passed it. But once that Parliament expired, it meant that the bill too had expired, and therefore we had to restart the process. So it has to go through the same processes again, and that is what is happening. Once we go through that, then the appropriate action will be taken to ensure that we have a fit for purpose law in that regard.
Sometimes when I look at the shots that will come from Parliament and I see in the state, I say, oh yeah, he's an MP.
Yes. So sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm an MP. Yes.
How is the constituency doing?
Oh, it's going well by God's grace. We are doing the best we can to improve the living conditions of the people. One of the biggest problems they had was roads. The roads are pretty, but then campaigning, it was hell getting from one place to the other. Fortunately, there are about 4 roads that are currently under various stages of construction. The notable amongst them is the one in the district capital, Abudunkwa. Okay. Construction started, I think, sometime last month. I cut short for it on, I think, 18th December, if I'm not mistaken, and the contractor is on site. working previously. There's one Abakrampa junction to Abakrampa. That one too is under construction. The one that will start very soon, in a matter of weeks, is the Asebu to Bremsu Road. It's a 12-kilometer road. The Eguasi to Amosima Road. That one started under the previous government, but it was abandoned because we were not paying the contractor. We are working previously to honor the certificates for the contractor so that he can resume work. So at least in the next year or two, we should have about 4 major roads well done. And then we'll move on to other parts of the constituency.
Personally, we'll check on these roads.
Oh no, it shouldn't. Okay. I am even keener to check on those roads to ensure that the timelines are met, because the state of roads in that constituency is pretty bad.
Okay.
And I intend to do something about it by getting the appropriate authorities to respond swiftly to the concerns that we have with roads. There are also issues with unemployment like everywhere, and therefore we are making efforts to ensure that as many youth in the constituency get opportunities. And then there are issues with agriculture. It's an interesting constituency. There's a significant part that whose main preoccupation is fishing, and then the other part is agrarian. And so both sets of agricultural activity are receiving attention. The fisher folks have had some reforms in the way that premix management is carried out, and so they are quite happy about it. In the farming section, we hope to benefit from the farmer services centers that President Obama promised. Indeed, if you check the 2026 budget, 50 of them are to be established, and we are working assiduously to ensure that we get one to the AAK district to help farmers, because many of them are into citrus production. And unfortunately, there were times when I was campaigning and saw that there were heaps of orange and lime by the roadside, which were going bad. They simply didn't have a market. And so you find vehicles coming from as far afield as Côte d'Ivoire to cut them away at very cheap, ridiculous prices, because they didn't have, there are a number of factories that have set up to process this, and we hope to attract more of these factories so that through that they generate employment and then are able to add value to the produce and give the farmers competitive prices, which makes their toil worthwhile. So we are working hard to ensure that we turn around the.
I can have a conversation with you till on. Thank you so much. You made time to sit with us. The NPP flag bearership race. Do you care about it?
Well, we are indifferent. My view is that given what they put the people of Ghana through, and given the dramatic transformation in the economy, they will find it hard to convince Ghanaians to choose them over the NDC, because the average voter is a rational decision maker.
So you don't care who actually?
I don't believe that it matters who they bring. They were all together in the poor governance that we witnessed, and then particularly for the front runner, Dr. Bawumia, he was the one who was front and center of economic management. Except that lately, it is not even clear what they themselves think was the case. In one breath, they say he was responsible for every economic policy. In another breath, he was not in charge of the economy. In another breath, it is his policies that are underpinning the Ghanaian economy. And then in another breath, they say the economy is in shambles because people are suffering. So clearly, one does not know what the NPP themselves think about. And that kind of confusion, in my view, does not convince the electorates that they are ready to govern this country properly. But we wish them well. We will, however, continue to focus on delivering on our mandate. And we believe that once we deliver that mandate properly, the people will make a choice that reflects the delivery of that mandate when the time comes for them to go to the elections again.
This is my special accountability series session with you. I'm certain I'll be here mid-year, maybe June.
You're more than welcome.
To take another stop. But thank you so much. Have yourself a good year.
All right, same to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Right. And thank you for staying.
All right, welcome back to the concluding part of the show today. And I've been joined by winners and the director of the Junior Speller 2025 and the CEO himself, or the director of the National Junior Speller, Victor Osain Kansa, is here in the studio. Othniel Papa Koranting Tete of Rising Sun Montessori School, Basic 1 to 4 winner. And then Shasha Kekeli Afianu, Agri Memorial International School, is the winner for the Basic 5 to 9. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
So let me start with you, Victor. Now, how would you describe the success of the 2025 Speller, and what would you say is the outstanding moment for you, or was the outstanding moment for you?
I think 2025 contest was a great success. looking at the number of children that made it to the national finals. Usually, we get about 50 to 60 children qualifying nationwide to the national final. But this time, in the grade 1 to 4, we had about 185 children qualifying to the national finals. Okay. In the 5 to 9, we had about 120 children qualifying to the national finals. And this time we had reps from all the 16 regions, making it a very competitive contest. And the feedback from parents is they've seen a lot of improvement in terms of the confidence of the children. They've become very outspoken and all that. So it's been very successful. And then the contest was really keen. We had to go over and over and over and over again for us to get the champion. So that means that they prepared very well and they performed very well. So congratulations to them once again for winning hard.
Okay, so let me come to you, champions. And this is Sasha. Yes. Sasha, what would you say is the that outstanding achievement you've had out of this competition? So probably your confidence or something, but okay. I mean, what was the most challenging word for you throughout the competition?
Okay, cannellini was the most challenging.
What?
Cannellini.
Hey, I know so that word, no. Cannellini, how do you spell that?
C-A-N-N-E-L-L-I-N-I.
Oh, cannellini.
Okay. Cannellini.
And what's the meaning of the word?
It's white beans.
I have to join the junior speller competition myself next time around. Okay. Othniel, what was the biggest word for you two?
Anti-apartheid.
Oh, anti-apartheid. All right. That was the biggest.
Yeah.
Well, did you get it right?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you know about anti-apartheid?
An anti-apartheid is an unfair system.
Okay. So how did you overcome the word? It was the biggest for you.
By looking at the pronunciation, the definition, the origin, and the path of speech.
Okay. Anti-apartheid, and that helped you get it. Shasha, how do you prepare for the championship, and who would you say supported you most on the journey?
Okay, so it's actually 3 people. My teacher says lie. My uncle and my mom.
Okay.
So my teacher who registered me for the competition will help me revise the words in school. My uncle would send me words to learn, and my mom, she did a lot. After school, she would help me quickly finish up my homework, and I'll learn a little and rest. While I rested, she would sit and write words for me, so that when I wake up, she can explain for me. Then she would wake me up at dawn around 2 or 3 to learn. And there were some times I would cry because I was really exhausted. So she would explain for me and prepare my favorite beverage, Milo, for me to wake me up.
Okay, so when there's Milo, you wake up. How was the feeling when you won eventually?
I was emotional and broke down in tears, knowing that all my hard work and efforts had finally paid off. Because I was competing with older and more matured students.
Okay. Which class are you anyway?
It's class 6.
Class 6. And you came up with people who were in JHS1 and JHS2, but you still won, huh?
Yes, please.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, Othniel, how was the preparation for you? Who helped you? And what would you say was your journey like as well?
Okay. My mother, father, and grandmother helped me.
Hey, your grandma?
Yeah.
Okay.
My mother printed the definitions of the words, and my grandmother explained the definitions to me, and my father helped me with the spellings.
Okay. So what went through your mind when you you got to know that you won this?
I was happy, and what was in my mind was how many words I spelled.
Okay. How many words did you spell?
Over 10.
Over 10?
Yeah.
To win the competition?
Yes.
Which class are you?
4.
Yeah, so it means you came up with contestants in class 5, those coming from class... okay, so...
I think she was in class... She was in class 3 when he registered.
When he registered.
Yes, so he was competing with those in class 1, 2, and 4. Yeah.
But it's still an interesting journey, you know, to have won that. So what advice would you give to some young student who want to become champions like you? Let me start from you, Othniel.
I'll tell them to work hard. I'll tell them to prepare by working hard and achieve their goals.
Okay, all right. You?
So it's 3 things I'd like to say. So be consistent in learning the words, because little drops of water make a mighty ocean. And secondly, reduce the time you spend on social media, because there's a theory that too much screen time increases forgetfulness, known as digital dementia or brain fog.
Wow.
And lastly,
The 2 you've given is I've even learned something from you. That I have to reduce the time my children spend on the screen because there's something called digital dementia, right? Yes. Thank you for that one. I'm grateful to you. As a parent, I've taken that from you. I'm going to implement it in my house. Okay, so to you, Victor, what changes must we expect in 2026?
Yeah, so the 2026, we are looking at a number of students registering to be part of the National Junior Spelling Bee. The good thing, what we've seen is most of those who participated in the 2025 edition wants to come back again because they want to win the trophy.
Want to be champions.
Yes, so a lot of them have already registered looking for it. So it means it's going to be very competitive. Looking at someone who made it to the national final, was in maybe 4th position or 3rd position, coming back again. It means if you want to compete in this year's contest, you have to be well prepared. And then the training, the number of words, we are going to see a lot of changes in all that to help them prepare very well for the year's competition. So it is going to be very different and very special.
Okay. Now, if I want to ask you, why should parents and schools take advantage of registration, and what kind of benefit even await them?
For the benefit, you can just see Sasha and Othniel. They are just great examples. For us, we always get a lot of feedback from parents, and what they tell us is our kids have become so vocal, very confident, very curious. They always want to, and the fact that they love to learn, they love to read and all of that. So if you are a parent, I think this is a time to take advantage of this initiative which is going throughout this country. So those who are interested schools should go to juniorspellergh.com and then register as an individual, and you can also register as a school. I think it will really help. Every child needs this.
Okay.
This,
all right. Time. Thank you very much for this. But to you, Sasha, is there anybody you want to say hi to? Our time is up, so just brief.
To everyone who helped me, thank you, and may God bless you.
Okay. Thank you very much too. Othniel, is there anybody you want to say hi to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to thank them. And
you want to pray that God should bless them?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, Shasha Kekeli Afiano is from the Agri Memorial International School, the winner for Basic 5 to 9. And also, Othniel Papa Korantin Tete is of the Rising Sun Montessori School, Basic 1 to 4 winner. Thank you very much for coming. And then we also had Victor Senkansa, Director, National or the CEO of the National Junior Speller. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
And on this note, we say thank you for watching us. We'll meet again, God willing, tomorrow. Up next on this channel is the news desk at 10. Do stay on.